do more work with Zoom than I did in person.
I think Tom Nicanello's got the background tonight, doesn't he?
He had it last meeting too.
Did he?
Yeah.
Why? He must get down there early for that one.
Yeah. You can join him if you'd like. Just sit 6 feet apart.
Really? Can I get a Yarmouth insignia in the background?
Okay. Your mic is off, Kathy.
We're all set if you want to get started.
Yes, sure.
The September 10th, 2020 meeting of the Yarmouth Zoning Board of Appeals is about to convene. As a precautionary measure to reduce the spread of the coronavirus, all town buildings are closed to the public, well, not technically, but for this meeting, and this meeting will be held by remote participation. My name is Kathy Williams, and I'm the Town of Yarmouth Town Planner, and will be serving as moderator for this virtual meeting. I will now turn it over to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
I thank you very much, Ms. Williams. And this is the Yarmouth Zoning Board of Appeals. My name is Steve DeYoung. I'm going to call a roll call if we could to assure that we have a quorum this evening. Sean Igo.
Present.
Dick Martin.
Present.
Tom Nicanello.
I am here, sir.
Tom Barron.
Present.
We have a full board of 5 members. The quorum is met. If we could proceed on, please. I will now call the meeting to order and ask that the moderator explain the remote participation proceedings.
Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, this meeting of the Yarmouth Zoning Board of Appeals is being conducted via remote participation. Although no in-person attendance will be permitted, every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access and participate in the proceedings. Persons who would like to view this meeting while in progress may do so by watching via this virtual meeting or the live feed on the Town of Yarmouth YouTube channel. You may also listen to the meeting by dialing in to the number provided on the notice of meeting. The recording of this meeting will also be available on the Town of Yarmouth YouTube channel for future viewing. Please be patient as we work to overcome any technological challenges with the virtual meeting. For all meetings, all audience participants enter the virtual meeting muted. Participants will be unmuted only when called upon to speak by the chair or the moderator. All votes must be roll call votes. If you are not speaking, please mute yourself to avoid unnecessary background noise. Do not use speakerphone or Bluetooth devices when speaking. For applicants and presenters, applicants can use the raise hand button or press *9 on their phone to identify themselves to the chair. The moderator will unmute applicants when they are called upon to speak during their portion of the agenda. Applicants or presentations provided by the applicant will be displayed in the virtual meeting by the moderator and advanced by the moderator. Or if pre-approved for larger projects, temporary panelist capabilities may be given to the presenter to share their screens while giving their presentation. All presenters and speakers need to identify themselves by first and last name and affiliation when speaking. For public hearings, during the portion of the hearing designated for public comment, the chair will ask who in the audience has any public comments or questions. Members of the public may speak by selecting the raise hand button or pressing *9 on their phone and waiting for the chair to call on them to speak. As an alternative to making comments via online audio or phone, you may also submit comments to the moderator via the virtual meeting chat function. To do this, click on the chat icon and type your message. When prompted, the moderator will read comments and questions into the record. Members of the public recognized by the chair are asked to identify themselves by first and last name and affiliation for the public record, and then provide their comment. Prior to concluding opportunities for public comment, the chair will ask one last time if anyone wishes to speak or give additional comment. I will now hand the meeting back to the board.
Thank you. And it's a somewhat lengthy agenda this evening, so let's get right to it. The first matter on our agenda is petition 4852, that of Deborah A. Cebola. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Of West 40th Street, Baltimore, Massachusetts. Property location is 21 Pinecone Drive, West Yarmouth, which is in a zoning district R25 rather, I apologize. The applicant seeks a variance from zoning bylaw 203.5 to exceed allowed lot coverage by 2% for proposed deck. Is someone here on behalf of Ms. Cebola?
I see Ms. Cebola, and I'll allow her to talk.
Oh, good.
She might need to unmute herself.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
We have moved to Yarmouth, West Yarmouth, to live full-time. And I have fairly severe rheumatoid arthritis and fibromyalgia. And it's very difficult for me to get down the stairs that are presently attached to the house. And for that reason, we would like to put a deck on the back.
All right. Well, do we have any plans that we can show perhaps to the audience, or? I know the board members have certain paper and records, but.
If you give me a moment, I'll try to share my screen.
I'm sorry?
If you give me a moment, I'll try to share my screen.
Thank you.
Steve Hetzel, are you on the phone as well?
He is. Would you like me to unmute him as well?
Yes, please.
Hi, this is Steve Hetzel.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. I've been before the board a few times before, and it's a little different to see you this way. However, the project that we're proposing is something that is, if it was not for a lot coverage issue, would comply with all of the regulations for setbacks and et cetera for the deck. Height restrictions, there's nothing really in the code there that says it's about the ground level deck for the first floor. It's a step down, so it's about 3.5 feet off the ground. And then it's got about a 3-foot railing and posts surrounding that, with a stairway leading down, which still allows a 20.9, I think, a 20.5 foot setback off the back lot line. Debbie Sabula is my client that I built a house for several years ago, and when we built the house, part of the original idea was to put a raised patio here, which would not be considered part of the structure and would not be part of the lot coverage. However, about a year and a half after the house was built, Debbie's husband passed away, and all plans were put on hold. At this point right now, Debbie has now moved with her daughter full-time to Pinecone and West Yarmouth, and would like to be able to use the outside deck during the, any season that it's applicable without having to go up and down stairs. She does have issues with climbing. She does have issues with climbing stairs, and that's why we want to keep it at the first floor level. So it really comes down to the lot coverage, not any setbacks or height or anything regarding the deck.
Got to unmute yourself, Steve.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Kathy, could we take down the plan, please? So now, as is our usual custom, we'll go around to the members who may or may not have questions. And so we'll start with Dick Martin, if we could.
I guess one question I have is for anybody that can answer it. Is this a variance or a special permit? Doesn't
Variance.
it is a variance, and that
Variance.
why is
Yeah.
that? Because it's on the same
You're-
schedule that we have for setbacks and so forth.
You're exceeding the lot coverage,
I know that, but
creating a new nonconformity.
Yeah, and I talked to Mark Grills at the building department, and he guided me to saying that it should be for a variance, not a special
Okay.
permit because of that reason.
Okay. You're both ahead of me. No, I mean, I think I think it meets the criteria for a variance based on what was just explained to us, and it's a very tiny amount, and it's just for a deck, and it's on a very small lot, on a nice house in a nice neighborhood, and I know one abutter, I guess, had some more questions, I think, than a problem, and another butter, I think, was in favor. I don't see that it's any, I don't have any other questions, let's put it that way.
All right. How about Mr. Igo? You have any questions of the petitioner?
No, I don't have any questions. It's pretty self-explanatory. I do have the plan in front of me, and I do think it should be noted, as it has been, that they meet all of the setbacks. I agree with Dick. I do think it meets the criteria for a variance. It's obviously a hardship to the petitioner. I did go over there today. I looked at it. There seems to be quite a bit of distance between the proposed deck and the rear lot line, and the neighbor that is to the rear that would probably be the most effective seems to be quite a bit of distance away as well. So when we go to discuss the variance criteria, I'll save my comments for then, but I would be in favor of this petition. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Barron?
I basically agree with both colleagues. I saw the site myself, and I think it fits well with the property.
I have a dog barking in the background, so I apologize for muting and unmuting. Mr. Nicanello?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Looking at the plans and the way the deck is proposed, it kind of like squares off the back of the house, does not go behind the bulkhead. I think it's quite reasonable, and I think the structure that will be standing there for many years to come will probably be fine for what's happening. I don't see any real problems. It does meet all the setbacks, as the board members had said. So I could be very comfortable with that. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I just, if I could, and I don't, it was my failure to write it down. As I understand it, the petitioner has some gait issue, walking issue.
Yes.
Okay, so that would be the hardship, huh?
Yes.
All right. We don't have to go any further than that. I have no questions. I think both the petitioner and her representative have presented very well what they're seeking. I do not have the correspondence to which Dick makes reference, but I think, Tom, you've read it. Sean, you've read it.
I have.
That Dick aptly described what it consisted of. So now we're going to open the meeting to any people that would like to speak in opposition of this petition. 4852, please make yourself known to Ms. Williams so that we can either call you up or listen to you on the phone.
No one has their hand raised and there's no one in the chat box.
All right.
Oh, wait a minute. Someone just raised their hand, Doris Kelly.
All right, please acknowledge Ms. Kelly on the screen if we can, or by phone.
She should
Can
be
everyone
able to-
hear me?
We can.
Okay, we sent a list of questions to Sandy, and we were just hoping some of the questions could be answered. We are the abutters to the rear of the property.
Okay, you're the parties most affected, so I don't have those questions. When did you send them in, just out of curiosity?
I sent them to Sandy 2 days ago.
2 days ago, they were sent to Sandy in an email. We can read the
Well,
questions.
okay, in just a minute. Well, I want to apologize to you that I can't read them into the record for you. But with COVID-19, and this may be true of all these petitions tonight, and the separation of all of our board members, it's very hard to logistically arrange for everybody to get and print any comments, particularly when they're coming on the day of the petition. So for everybody that may be listening to us tonight, I urge you to get any comments you'd like to make on any petition in as early as you can, perhaps when you see it posted, and become aware of your issues. Now, if you'd like to go ahead and read your questions, that's absolutely fine.
Okay, I think the first question was answered, but the variance is due to a hardship. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
What number do you live at?
What are the potential consequences for us as abutters? I mean, how close to the property line? I'm sorry?
I don't know. Go ahead.
Okay. What are the potential consequences for us as abutters? How close to the property line will the fence be?
Will the deck be, you mean?
With a deck, I'm sorry, will the deck be?
No problem. I don't know if Kathy can put it up again, but let's put up the plan that maybe you haven't had a chance to see. And I apologize. What street address do you live at, please?
28 Marymount?
Thank you. And there's the plan, so you can see, it's hard to see because certainly it's of a small size that you're seeing. The deck will be 22.9 feet from your rear property line. The property line of this lot exceeds where the fence posts are located by a small bit, but it will be 22.9 feet
That's fine.
to the south, to the southwest, and 20.5 feet. Oh, no, not the deck. I apologize. That's another extension. So
Okay.
that's a bulkhead that's shown there. Okay. What's your next question?
20 feet, okay, is that correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I guess we were trying to figure out, I think most of our concern is how high is the deck? If she's so close to the fence, how high is the deck? I mean, is it a point where we're not too concerned about it, except if, you know, we lose a lot of our privacy because the deck is high, very close to the fence, and they can see in our backyard.
Oh, surely, we understand. Well, I think they indicated, and perhaps the builder will help us, that it was within, it was about 3 feet off the ground, which would be lower than, just about, probably lower than their access doors out back.
Okay, so 3 feet off the ground. If someone's 6 feet tall, it's 9 feet. And we're,
No,
and the fence is probably what, 8 feet? No?
6 feet, maybe?
6 feet. Okay, the fence is probably 6 feet. I guess it's hard to visualize 20 feet away. If someone is 6 feet, they're gonna be 9 feet. I mean, I think it's gonna be okay. It's just hard to visualize.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Chairman, Dick Martin, it appears that there are steps down from the house onto the deck if I'm not mistaken. So it'd be below the, it'd be below the first floor level of the house.
Okay,
Yeah, it's only 3 feet off the ground again.
Yeah.
And about 23 feet from the fence. So it's quite a setback.
And so
Okay.
there's no misunderstanding about it. I suppose they could build a patio on a patio on a patio to cover that 3 feet and accomplish the same thing, so.
okay. All right, we were just concerned, we lost, we're new owners and the owners before us lost so many trees. We were right in the line of the tornado.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so they lost just about all the trees in the backyard. And I think it's just a matter of the trees. There are new trees that have been planted once they're young. Once the trees start maturing, I think we'll have a little bit more privacy.
Well, where did you move down from?
It's our second home.
Oh, well,
We
well,
live in-
welcome to it. Welcome to lovely
you.
town of Yarmouth. We welcome you year round.
We
All right,
absolutely
Did you have any
love
other
it.
questions? Huh?
No, I think we're fine.
Yeah.
Are we fine? Yeah, we're fine. It doesn't appear that our privacy will be affected greatly, so
Well,
we're
for that,
fine.
we're very happy, honestly. So if we can, if you would mute yourself, please. Does anybody else in our audience care to speak in favor of this petition?
We had correspondence in favor of it.
All right, I don't have that, so I'm at a disadvantage.
Would you like
If
me to
somebody
read
has
it?
Sure, please.
Dear Board of Appeals, as trustees for the trust which own the property at 22 Pine Cone Drive, directly across the street from the petitioner, we would like to state our support for the allowance of a variance which would allow her to build her deck. We feel that granting this variance would not impact our property or any other abutting property negatively in any way. Unfortunately, due to schedule conflicts, we cannot make the actual hearing, but please let this correspondence serve to show our support for the petition and the petitioner. And that's Kelly T. Kaczowski, trustee for the Kelly T. Kaczowski Revocable Trust.
Thank you.
Steve
there a-
Hetzel does have his hand raised as well, sir.
I'm sorry?
Steve Hetzel from the
Yes.
applicant also has his hands raised. I don't know if you have
Well,
anything
you know, I would really like to go through the correspondence, Steve, and then we'll get to you. Okay? So
problem.
what's the next correspondence you might have?
That's the only correspondence other than the comment, question letter from Bill and Doris Kelly, who they read their questions.
Very good. All right, Steve, surely go ahead, please.
Okay, I heard the objections and they seem to be satisfied from the butter, the Kellys. And I heard the positive reinforcement from across the street. And the comments from the board were that it basically fit the criteria for a variance and setbacks and height and everything. So I have really nothing more to say other than I
Good.
wish that this would go through so we can keep Debbie very happy.
Fine, then we can move on now. And is there anybody else in our audience that cares to speak in favor, against, or has questions concerning this petition?
I see no one.
Seeing none, we now close it to the public's commentary and input. We welcome that at the board discussion. We'll start with Mr. Nicanello, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. As I stated earlier, the project looks fine. In the essence of time, I have no more comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Martin.
Yeah, it's a very minor request and the petition looks good and I think it meets the criteria necessary for the variance.
Very good. How about you, Mr. Barron? Any thoughts?
No, I believe this is a very good proposal. It meets the requirements of the rear setback in all all instances, and so I would be inclined to vote in favor.
Well, thank you very much. And Mr. Igo, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, as we've indicated before, the building meets all the dimensional setbacks under the bylaw. It's obviously not going to be any type of detriment to the neighborhood. I do think they meet the criteria for a variance. I think there is a substantial hardship given the petitioner's medical conditions. I think the circumstances really are owing to the shape of this lot. This lot is not a square lot. It is rectangular. So they were compelled some years ago to build it as the shape of the lot required them to. I also believe that the desirable relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good or nullifying, substantially degrading from the intent and purpose of the bylaw. But for those reasons, Mr. Chairman, I believe they meet the criteria for a variance, and I would urge the board to grant the variance.
Well, I absolutely agree. I think this is exactly why we have the opportunity to allow variances, particularly when someone has a need that can be met by the grant of a variance, and that being a physical need. I think it's particularly with the de minimis relief sought. It's a good variance to vote in favor of. So is somebody going to make a motion to approve the request for the variance without condition?
I'd like to make a motion that we grant the variance as requested without conditions.
And is there a second to that motion? Who did that? Mr. Barron, thank you. Does the board care to have any discussion on this motion before proceeding to a vote? Hearing none. We'll take a roll call. Mr. Martin,
Aye.
Mr. Igo,
Aye.
Mr. Nicanello,
Aye.
Mr. Barron,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. That's 5 in favor. To the petitioner and her representative, a decision will be drafted as quick as we can. And it will be filed with the town clerk's office as quick as Ms. Clark can get it there. And after 20 days of that being on file, should nobody appeal from it, you'll then need to bring the variance to the Barnstable Registry of Deeds, record it, and return proof of recordation back to the board. Again, Ms. Clark was very helpful and will be willing to give you some guidance as you go. Thank you and good night. The second petition is that of 4853 James W. Baker Jr., 62 Beacon Street, South Yarmouth, Mass. That property is located in an R40 zoning district. Tonight, our applicant seeks to modify a prior special permit given number 4788, or in the alternative, a new special permit and or variance from zoning bylaws, bylaw 203.5 for setback relief. Who's here for the petitioner, please?
Brianna Baker.
All right, if we could recognize them, please, and open their mic.
Hi, this is James Baker. I'm using my daughter's computer here.
Well,
This is all new to me.
We can forgive that.
Okay, thanks.
Why don't you go ahead and tell us all about your petition?
Well, I'm just seeking a modification to the previous decision, but from the board last year. I'd come in, I wanted to do a wraparound porch around my home. And I guess it was a dimensional mistake on my end when I drew up the plans. I had shown 6 feet between the house and the garage for my porch to start the wraparound and come around out front. And the relief I was seeking from the original meeting was because I wanted to come out 3 additional feet in the front for my equal distant 6 foot wraparound porch. Well, what I had to do is for the beam on this porch, where it comes into the garage, I had to go out an additional 3 inches on the left side of between the house and the garage. So the beam would bear on the garage for the porch. And what I did is I ended up carrying that dimension all the way around to the front, which blew my front setbacks from what was previously allowed. And it didn't even dawn on me at the time until I went to get my final certified plot plan, submitted it, and then Tim Sears sent me an email and said, "You've got a little bit of a problem here." So then he suggested I contact Sandy, and from that point on, I guess I was just looking for a modification to the original decision from the board last year.
Very good. I think you've explained it very well, and now we'll see whether or not the board's inclined to give you either or of your relief. And so we'll start now with Mr. Igo. Your thoughts, Mr. Igo, or questions of the petitioner?
Oh, you muted.
You need to unmute, yeah.
Sorry. Just so we're clear what he's looking for, Mr. Baker, you're looking for 3 inches on the side setback, is that correct?
No, it was actually on the front setback.
Oh, you're not looking for any side setback relief? Because you had 18.6, 18.6. Oh, no, you decreased it. I'm sorry. You made it better. Okay, so we're going from down to 24.7. Is what, am I correct?
Yes, I'm trying to flip through it here now. It's I was originally at 24.7 and I'm now at 24.3 by virtue of carrying those dimensions around to the front. And then of course there's, I put some lattice on the base on the bottom, on the deck, and then a little water table, a 3/4 inch water table that came around. So it's actually a little bit more than 3 inches.
Okay, so we're talking about 3 inches of relief. Is that correct?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay. I have no further questions. I do have a quick comment, though. I think this is a very de minimis request. These things do happen in building sometimes, and they're not done with any intent or any malice to degrade from the bylaw or the building requirements. And I think this is just an honest mistake what happened. And so I would certainly be in favor of this petition. That's all I have for now. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, please.
I don't have any questions or any issues.
Thank you. Mr. Barron, please.
I think the same, very, very small change for 3 inches or whatever. But there is one flaw in the application. The APD is crossed out as not being applicable, and in fact, it is in the APD area. So that has to be corrected.
Yeah, that's the accompanying fact sheet. That's not on the petition itself. So I see your point, but just for clarity, that's the fact sheet and not the petition, unless I'm missing something on the petition. R40, map location, parcel location, and I don't have the back. Well, I don't have the back of it. So I'm not. Oh, I see. Yes, yeah. I'm sorry. Is the property within the Aquifer Protection Overlay District? Sure. So this is the actual back of the petition, first page, isn't it? And it's checked no. Well, I don't see this as having any impact on the APD, but thank you for pointing that out.
For accuracy purposes.
Yeah.
Can I ask, on the original petition, did we deal with the APD then on this original petition?
Well, I've got the decision. Let me take a look.
Was that part of the requested relief? Here we go. Let me take a look here.
I'm seeing no immediate reference to the APD. I'll look at the second page. Yeah, there was no question about the APD in that hearing.
Okay.
No issue with the APD.
Well, I think procedurally we could go forward here. We could probably, I think we could, even though it's not requested in the relief, it really has nothing to do with the APD, and as far as its impact to it, as something else might be. For instance, if we were dealing with a gas station or something like we were up on Station Ave, that obviously would have to be addressed. It probably should have been listed here if they're in the APD. However, I still think we could proceed. We could make a note of it in the decision and ask the petitioner to get a determination from the Board of Health whether there's any impact with this addition on the APD. And if the Board of Health determines that there is, then maybe we'd have to ask him back again. But if they determine that there isn't, then maybe we could just go forward absent an appeal on this.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Nicanello?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. You know, sometimes things happen for a reason. And I'm kind of glad that he went over by 3 inches, because I wouldn't really notice the beautiful work that he did. Inside the folder, it shows the before and then it shows the after. And I must say, Mr. Baker, it's a remarkable job to a beautiful structure. And with that, I don't have anything else to add. Thank you.
Thank you. And I only have one question, Mr. Baker. Could you tell me the, since I don't have in my packet, at least, if you submitted a site plan, I don't have it.
I can share something with you if you'd like.
Please do. I'm just trying to get the final distance from the street, the closest point to the street. Was it 21.3? 21.
24.7.
Oh, 20, no, the final, after the relief is
Oh,
granted.
24.3.
You know.
Oh, that's the side.
I think the side also needed relief. I think Sean was correct on that.
Well, it hasn't been asked for. Has it? Were you seeking relief for the side? Because, now we come to the petition again and,
The side
That
was, the side was originally approved in the last petition.
Correct.
The only variance that appears to be requested is the front setback.
Right.
that's all that's asked for within the notice anyway. So that's like, I don't think we could rule on a change to the sideline anyway at this point.
Did.
Okay, so what's the final distance again? Can say it's 24.3?
Yeah.
Correct.
All right. So it's going down 4/10 of a foot. And is that enough? Because you just told us 3 inches, but it actually went a little bit more than that.
Well, I actually looked up the tenths of a foot, and every tenth of a foot is 1 1/6. I believe it's 1 3/16 of an inch. So by virtue of going out the additional 3 inches to keep the deck equal, what I also did was I put on lattice to keep critters and whatnot out from underneath the deck.
Of course, sure.
And also a 3/4 inch 1x8 water table that, a white board to go underneath the deck just to kind of to hide the pressure treated. So you went by 3, so it ends up about 4.5 inches roughly with all that
All right.
built up.
All right, good enough. Just wanted to clarify it for a written decision, that's all.
Okay.
All right, does anyone in our audience care to speak in favor of this petition? If so, please make yourself known to the moderator.
No one has their hand raised. There's no one in the chat box.
All right. Does anyone in our audience care to speak in opposition to this petition? If so, please make yourself known to the moderator.
I see no one.
And my understanding is there's no correspondence. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. Does anybody in our audience who hasn't spoken either in favor or against the petition have any questions about the petition? If so, please make yourself known to our moderator.
No one has their hand raised.
Thank you very much. So now we can move it on to the board's consideration without any further community input. Mr. Barron, what are your thoughts?
I believe this, this is a very minimal change to the original petition and should be approved.
Very nice. Thank you. Mr. Nicanagolo.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. As the previous petitioner, the petitioner came previously before us, all his neighbors were extremely happy with what was going to happen. And I definitely agree. I definitely would like to say that he improved the site immensely, and I have no other questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Igo.
I think it's very, very de minimis, very small amount of relief. I think it's probably just an honest mistake due to change in the construction. I think they meet the criteria of the bylaw. I certainly don't think this is going to be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. So I plan on supporting this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, very good. Mr. Martin?
Yep. I agree with all the points made by the other board members.
Yeah, I agree, but I don't think it should be by way of modification of the existing permit. I mean, I think it truly should be a new permit.
I think you're right.
Because this isn't the kind of thing you modify. If you have a use and the use change might come in and modify it, but I think this is probably a grant of special permit or not. So is somebody prepared to make a motion for the grant of the special permit as prayed for in the petitioner's petition?
Mr. Chairman, I'd be willing to make a motion to approve the new special permit as requested in petition number 4853.
Thank you. And does anybody second?
Second.
That was Mr. Barron. Thank you, Mr. Barron. Remember, everyone, that if you move a second, you go down in a long history of documents that will be, forever maintained over in Barnstable. So
Really? Even if the registry of deeds burns down, we get you in the cloud now.
that's right. It's all in the cloud. We don't want another burning down of the registry, though. One's enough. So the motion made by Mr. Martin to approve the special permit without condition, that motion being seconded by Mr. Barron. Does the board care to have any discussion before moving along to a vote? Hearing none. All those in favor of this, Mr. Barron,
In favor.
Mr. Nicanello,
Yes.
thank you. Mr. Igo,
Aye.
Mr. Martin,
Aye.
and I say aye. That's a 5-0 vote. That means that a decision will be drafted. It will be placed with the town clerk's office, who, after 20 days, will issue you a special permit if there be no appeal. And that special permit will need to be recorded at the Barnstable Registry of Deeds. Thank you very much, Mr. Baker, and have a good night.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Our next matter is petition 4854, that of Mark J. Preziosi, I apologize, and Suzanne, the same last name. And I apologize for my misspelling of your name, misstatement of your name. That they're of 28 Parkside Circle, Braintree, Mass. Concerning tonight is the property located at 21 Cadet Lane, West Yarmouth. That property is in an R25 zoning district. Our applicant is seeking a special permit under bylaw 104.3.2 subparagraph 2 and/or variance from zoning bylaw 203.5 for an addition on a pre-existing non-conforming or lot encroaching into the side setback. Who's here for the petitioner, please? If you make yourself known to the board, to the town moderator.
Mark Preziosi and his wife Suzanne is here.
I apologize for my mispronunciation of your name. I hope you'll forgive.
That's quite all right.
Now, are you on the phone or?
No, I'm on my computer.
All right, why don't you turn on your camera then, if you have one?
No.
I have to promote him to panelist, so if you give me a moment.
Oh, please promote him to panelist. Shoot. You didn't know you were getting a promotion tonight, did you?
He should be able to unmute and turn on his camera.
There you go. If you'd unmute that, we'd all be very happy.
All right, can you hear me now?
I sure can, yeah.
Yep. Great. Well, good.
We'd love to see you if you want to turn on your camera. If you don't, that's fine.
There I am.
Oh, there you are. Good to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Why don't you tell us all about your petition, please?
All right. First off, I wanted to thank Sandy for helping with the application process. I'm an accountant. I'm not used to doing this sort of thing, so she was very helpful. My wife had the house on Cadet Lane for about 10 years now. We had rehabbed an originally rundown piece of property. We're now looking to add on a bedroom, a small bath, and a living room. Unfortunately, the shape of the lot is such that it angles towards the back. And in order to get a bedroom of any size, we'd need some setback relief on the side. If you, in the material that we sent, there's a plot plan. You can see it's, the lot line goes in a fairly severe angle towards the back from the front, and it sort of cuts the back part of our proposed addition off. So without the setback relief, we wouldn't be able to put the bedroom on with any size.
All right. Did you want to say anything else, or could we open it up for board questions?
Questions by all means.
I'm sorry?
You could ask whatever questions you'd like.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Igo, please.
No questions, thank you.
And Mr. Barron, please.
I basically don't have any questions. I've looked at the plan myself, and it is a very severe angle that is being dealt with here. But the proposed addition would be, I think, a handsome addition to the neighborhood. When I first started to come down to the Cape many eons ago, my first rental was on the corner of Cadet Lane, right around the corner from this property. But I think the proposal is a very nice one.
Thank you. Did I pick on Mr. Igo yet?
Yep.
All right, Mr. Nicanello, please.
Yes, thank you. I do have one question. It really doesn't pertain to much, but it's just, you like to have the total height on these plans, and I just saw the height going to the top of the roof of 17 feet. And then I noticed you have a beautiful cupola up there, which absolutely is astounding. But I don't know the top height of that cupola. I'm sure it's not too much, but it wasn't, that's all the question I had. So thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Martin, please.
I don't think I have any questions. I would comment that the new plan is certainly a big improvement over the existing house. So the existing house is very cute and done up very nice from what it used to be. But those are all little kind of small modular homes that were built years ago. And I believe what they're doing to this is making it a much nicer house, raising the roof somewhat as well, putting a little dormer on and giving it some roof lines and character. So I think that that's a great addition, and in lieu of losing a sideline setback requirement, which they're not too far off that either. It's 15 feet in this location. So
Thank you very much. Well, I just have a couple of questions. So if we do vote in favor of you, I can draft a thoughtful decision. And that is, what is the square footage of the property of the home now?
672 square feet.
And what will the finished square footage be on if we grant you
The
relief?
proposal adds another 510 square feet.
Well, it's very modest at 672, isn't it? You said five.
With 5 people, it's really modest.
And you said 510, huh?
Yes.
Well, I guess you have a lot of bunk beds in that house.
Yeah.
All right. And while I will tell you that I, for one, would never consider an extension of front setbacks on this particular one, I think that the relief still keeps the line only 11.6 feet, as much as 11.6 feet from the sideline. And it is unfortunate the way those lots were angled and how small they are. By today's standards, they're small. But what you're doing is taking a piece of property that you otherwise probably wouldn't improve if you didn't get the relief you're looking for, because why would you? So I can speak, I know I'm going to speak in favor of it, consider it in favor of it. But before we go there, does anyone in our audience at home, in our audience, care to speak in favor of this petition? If so, please let yourself be known to the moderator.
No one has their hand raised.
Does anyone in our audience care to speak in opposition to the petition?
Again, no one has their hand raised.
Is there anybody in the chat room?
No one in the chat room.
And is there anybody in our audience that might have questions concerning the petition?
No one has indicated.
So seeing none, we'll now open it up to board discussion and deliberations. And that will start with Mr. Igo. Your thoughts, please.
Well, I think it's a very reasonable request. As was mentioned before, it's 11 feet 6 inches off the sideline in the back corner, yet the front corner of this is 19 feet, so they actually exceed the required setbacks there. I was over there today. I think it's gonna look fine once it's built. The owner keeps a very, very nice property over there. They keep it up very well. I'm sure this is gonna be a great addition to the neighborhood. I certainly think that they meet the criteria under the bylaw that this addition, if granted, will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood or the surrounding zoning district. So I do plan on supporting this, and I would urge the board to do so as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, and before we leave you, you would agree with me that this is should be considered as a special permit.
Yes, it's a 104.3.2.2. Yeah, it's alter and extend.
As I've said before, I wish we could only get one request, either or, but not an either or that we have to consider. But I agree with you, it's a special permit criteria that needs to be met. Mr. Martin, any question, any thoughts on the petition?
No,
Have I covered everybody?
I agree with Mr. Igo. And because of the sideline and how it angles is certainly a hardship based on being able to do a normal addition on that side.
All right. So does anybody now care to make a motion to support or in favor of this petition for a special permit?
I'd like to make a motion that we grant the relief as requested without conditions.
And is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. Igo and Mr. Martin. There is a motion now on the table made by Mr. Igo, seconded by Mr. Martin to approve the request for special permit without condition. Does the board care to have any discussion on that motion before proceeding to a vote? Seeing none. Mr. Barron?
In favor.
Thank you. Mr. Igo?
Aye.
Mr. Nicanello?
Aye.
Mr. Martin?
Aye.
And my vote is an aye. That therefore carries. A decision will be drafted. It will be filed with the town clerk's office by Miss. Listen, I haven't been drinking, okay? I'm so sorry. But it's just been a long day of Zoom meetings from the beginning till now. So by Ms. Clark, of course, the lovely and wonderfully talented Ms. Clark. And she will then file that with the town clerk's office. 20 days must elapse before that's considered a finally granted permit. That permit must then be brought to the Barnstable Registry of Deeds for recordation, with proof of recordation being returned back to us. And you will please get your instructions from Ms. Clark as you may need them, okay?
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, I'm sorry, sir, before you leave. Yes, Mr. Barron.
do we need to remove the variance language from the petition?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's always good to do, yeah. All right. Is anybody prepared to make a motion for, sir? You have requested relief in the alternative. We've granted you relief by the special permit. We would therefore be seeking to dismiss without prejudice the request for variance. In other words, you're getting the relief you want. You're getting one or the other, and you get one. Can't get both.
Yep.
Okay, so would you agree to allow us to seek?
Yes, I would.
All right, is anybody prepared to make a motion to withdraw that without prejudice?
I'd like to,
Chairman, Tom.
go ahead. That's
Who's
fine.
going to make it?
Tom Nicanello.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
Motion to withdraw the request for variance without prejudice. I'll
Is there a
second that.
Okay. Any need for discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of that motion to allow the withdrawal of the request for variance relief without prejudice, please indicate. Oh, again, I'm doing it. Mr. Barron,
Aye.
Mr. Igo,
Aye.
look at Mr. Nicanello's grins. Mr. Nicanello,
Aye.
sitting there beneath the town's logo. And they're over to you, Mr. Martin.
Aye.
And I say aye, therefore that follows at a 5-0 vote to allow the withdrawal of that variance without prejudice. Thank you very much. Okay,
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
thank you, you too. You're welcome to stay and watch the rest of our meeting.
Well,
I know it's,
Thank
I know
you.
it's sprawling.
Very interesting.
So now we go on to our last, our next and last petition, that is 4855 Luis Carlos Texera and Angela D. Fatima P. Texera, both of 3 Rogia Road, West Yarmouth, Massachusetts. That property being located in a zoning district R25. The applicant seeks a special permit under bylaws section 202.5 and 500, use table 202.5, talking about a daycare under use code P7A, and to operate a family home daycare, and variance from under section 500, I guess is what's intended here, to allow for up to 10 children. Whoever's presenting this petition, please identify yourself to our town moderator, and we will then go for board moderator, I apologize, and then we'll go from there. Okay? If we can recognize and invite in to our meeting, the petitioner, please.
Hi, how are you?
We're all well. Can you, do you have a camera by any chance?
Do you have a camera? Yeah. Come, yes.
Okay, why don't you turn it on so we can see you? Unless you prefer not
I
to.
need to promote her to panelist before she can do that.
Okay, please do.
I'm working on it.
Oh,
And my name is
there you
Maria.
are.
I'm here to translate for Rosangela.
You are what again?
My name is Mariana, and I'm here to translate for Rosangela.
Oh, thank you very much.
Of course.
I was a little concerned about that issue, and I'm glad to see you thoughtfully came to help her.
Absolutely. I'm here to help. Thank you so much for everything.
All right, well, we haven't done anything yet, so let's get right to it. What do you want to tell us about your petition?
So, I'm going to translate. So I'm going to ask her what you ask me, and I'm going
Sure.
to be acting as a translator today, okay?
That'd be very nice, thank you.
Rosângela, o que você gostaria de apresentar para eles agora? Qual seria aonde você quer dar uma abertura para o seu caso? O que você gostaria de dizer? Em poucas palavras.
Boa noite a todos, é um prazer em conhecê-los. Eu gostaria de colocar aqui que eu estou muito esperançosa que vocês me aprovem hoje, pois eu preciso do meu trabalho, eu preciso continuar atendendo as crianças que eu cuido, eu preciso dar emprego para minha assistente, e eu já trabalho há muito
Do you
tempo.
think perhaps we should have you stop for just a moment so that you might
Yeah,
translate every word she just said?
I was literally texting her to do just that. So, dá pausas, tá, amiga? Dá pausas.
Okay.
So she said, thank you so much for having me tonight. I am very anxious today to get a resolution to the daycare services that I am provide home. I am really grateful for everyone for the opportunity to present my case to you as to why I believe I should be permitted to operate this in my home. And I feel that I'm going to be incurring a lot of hardships by not receiving this permission from the zoning, the approval from the zoning department. And I would really appreciate, of course, the opportunity to explain what those hardships would be.
All right, feel free to go ahead now, please, Ms. Petitioner.
Pode continuar,
Texera.
Angela.
E eu já trabalho há muitos anos como professora e 3 anos como provider. Todo esse tempo eu desenvolvi meu trabalho com muito amor, com muito carinho, sempre proporcionando muita segurança para minhas crianças.
I'm already working with this. I've had a degree in Brazil prior to moving to the US, and I've been now working here in the US with childcare for the last 3 years with lots of love, and it's my passion to care for children.
E quero poder continuar a trabalhar com minhas crianças. Hoje que eu consegui comprar minha casa com um espaço maravilhoso para eles, eu tenho espaço, eu tenho muita experiência, então eu preciso continuar trabalhando. Eu me dedico muito para isso, para continuar trabalhando, e espero que eles hoje eles entendam a minha necessidade de continuar trabalhando.
So I have a very strong need to continue working and continue providing these childcare services from my home. It's what I have done for the last 3 years. I not only offer it with a lot of passion, but I have a lot of people that are counting on me, especially during this time. A lot of people that are leaving their children under my care are service providers that would not be able to work and would have to file for unemployment if for any reason I would not be able to watch their children. They would not be able to balance work and life with kids. So I'm really hoping that you can all help me get through this and help me get this approved.
Is there anything else from you, Ms. Texera?
Tem mais alguma coisa, amiga?
Sim, eu entendi que ele falou que eu quero mais que 10 crianças. Não, eu quero 10 crianças. Eu tenho 10 crianças, que é o limite máximo que o Estado permite, que o IC permite que eu seja licenciada. Então, é 10 crianças que eu tenho hoje e é 10 crianças que eu quero continuar tendo.
So she's always had 10 children as approved by her EEC license. And that is what she would like to continue having, considering that is what she counts on for her own income, for her own family, as well as all the people that are currently utilizing her services for the daycare.
Anything else?
Mais alguma coisa?
Não. Eu gostaria muito, assim, que eu li as cartas que algumas vizinhas mandaram, né? E eu fiquei muito triste com isso, porque muitas coisas que as vizinhas falaram não são verdadeiras. Eu até escrevi uma carta explicando. Quer continuar?
So she's referring to the reason why she wrote a 3-page letter today is because once she read the letters, read the letters of her neighbors that were in this request, she felt that there were a lot of comments within those letters that were not truthful, and that she feels somewhat hurt by that currently, and that she feels that a lot of that was not true. And she basically wrote that 3-page letter protecting herself and giving you guys enough background to understand where she's coming from.
Hoje, eu li uma carta que uma vizinha me mandou ainda hoje, que eu, antes das 8, tinha muito gritos de criança na minha casa. Eu estou fechada a semana inteira por causa da minha construção. Então, isso me deixou muito chateada.
So one of the things that she's just a little, wondering how it will be handled is that even in one of the letters received today, one of the neighbors said that she was being basically she was being woken up in the morning by the sounds of kids today at 8 a.m. or yesterday at 8 a.m. and she's been shut down all week because she's been doing renovations. So the daycare has not even been in use this week, and neighbors that wrote letters were basically saying that they were being woken up by kids this morning when there are no kids there all week long. Só isso.
Eu falo para ele que eu trabalho com crianças há 21 anos. No Brasil, trabalhei com crianças há 21 anos. Já faz 3 anos que eu trabalho com criança aqui. Sou formada, sou licenciada em pedagogia e matemática, sou especializada em educação especial. Foi o que eu fiz a minha vida inteira.
So she's been basically working her entire life for 21 years with children, and she has all of that in the letter for your records.
All right, thank you very much. So, board members, we'll start with who would like to go. Anybody? Huh? Mr. Igo, you want to go first?
Yes, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, what are your current hours of operation?
Quais são as suas horas de trabalho, amiga? De 9 às 5?
Trabalho das 7 às 5. 7 a.m. às 5 p.m.
Você começa às 7 da manhã?
Começa às 7 da manhã.
So she starts at 7 a.m. and she ends at 5 p.m.
Okay, she starts at 7 a.m. and she ends at 5 p.m. Are the clients expected to be there at a certain time in the morning and a certain time in the afternoon?
In that I do know, so I don't need to ask her because I've done some reading. Amiga, qualquer coisa que eu já souber, eu já vou responder para salvar
Ok.
tempo para todos, tá?
Ok.
So anything I already know, I'm already going to reply because I've done some studies prior to being here tonight to be able to support her. So basically, from what I understand, she's actually created time slots to be able to check people in within different time slots so that there's not a huge sense of a rush of all these cars arriving at the same time for pickup and for drop off. So the reason why she started earlier, she normally started at 8. She's now started earlier to be able to allow enough time for social distancing so that not everybody's arriving at the same time due to COVID, as well as to not inconvenience the neighbors. So people have more time arriving and they can be more spread apart.
So give me an idea. You have 10 children in a day. Tell me when child 1 arrives and go right through to child 10.
Yeah, that one I'm going to ask, okay? So I can be more specific. I'll be right back. Então, amiga, me dá uma ideia, por favor, de como que funciona esse calendário das 7 horas da manhã. Como que funciona o calendário para você?
Os pais agendam um dia anterior os horários que vão trazer no próximo dia. Então, de manhã, eles têm que me trazer, o máximo que eles podem me trazer é até as 9. Então, eles começam a me trazer a partir das 7 até as 9 a.m. Agendado de 10 em 10 minutos.
Você marca quando? De 10 em 10? Então,
de 10 em 10 minutos.
So the parents have to call the day before to confirm the arrival time of their children, and they are between 10 and 15 minutes apart. So one would arrive at 7, one would arrive at 7:15, one would arrive, between 7:10 and 7:15. One would arrive between 7:25 and 7:30. One would arrive between 7:40 and 7:45, and so on.
Okay, so it starts at 7 a.m. and from 7 a.m. in 15-minute intervals, 10 children show up.
Yeah, so from 7 to 9 a.m. So during that 2-hour slot, children will be arriving every 10 to 15 minutes.
And how long do the children stay?
They stay for the day, but let me confirm. Por quanto tempo eles ficam? Eles ficam até as 5 horas ou eles ficam até as 3 e começam a pegar às 3 horas?
Às 3 horas eu começo a liberar. Eles começam a agenda de novo para liberação.
So
então, às vezes...
at 3 p.m.
Yes. Às
sorry?
vezes...
So pickup starts from 3 to 5 p.m. So the same thing that she's done from 7 to 9 for arrival time, she's now doing pickup time 3 to 5, and all of that is scheduled by her the day before so that it's properly followed through on the next day.
So would she allow any people to come in the middle of the day if they wanted to?
Você poderia deixar alguém entrar no meio do dia, se alguém quiser entrar no meio do dia, se alguém quiser, por exemplo, deixar alguém lá meio-dia, você deixa isso acontecer?
Não, não pode, porque eu tenho protocolos, eu sigo os protocolos do IC. Então, eu tenho o horário máximo de chegada, que termina 9 horas.
So she has to follow EEC protocols, and they have protocols that they can only arrive up until 9. And they also have protocols of departure as well. And she must follow those in order to keep her license.
Okay.
So the answer would be no. Nobody could just drop off a child at 12 o'clock unannounced.
All right. Okay. Do I have anything else now? How many people live in the house?
So this is a 3-bedroom home with a 4-bedroom septic system with a room over the garage, which is unfinished. Currently in the home is Rosangela and her husband, as well as her 3 kids. She has 3 children on her own.
There's 5 people living in the house.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
How old are the children?
Quantos anos tem as suas crianças? 15, 18? Não, 15,
21, 15 e 8.
8 years old, 15 years old, and 21 years old.
E não estou grávida.
Okay, I was over there today at about 1:30, and there were 5 automobiles in the driveway. Who owned those automobiles?
Quando ele estava aí hoje, 12:30, e teve 5 5 carros no seu driveway. Quais são as pessoas que estão com esses 5 carros no seu driveway?
Tá, tava o meu carro,
Her car,
o carro do meu filho,
from one of her children.
yes, a van que o meu filho
One
trabalha, porque choveu, ele voltou.
Say that again. Fala de novo.
A van que o meu filho trabalha, a van de trabalho do meu filho, que ele voltou. O carro da minha assistente, que trabalha comigo, que ela estava me ajudando a montar
Não precisa de detalhes, tá ok.
as apresentações. E o carro e um outro carro que o funcionário do meu marido, que trabalha com o meu marido, ele precisou deixar aqui na minha driveway hoje, porque ele veio até com o carro aqui para ir de carona com o meu marido, porque a esposa precisava vir pegar à tarde o carro para buscar o filho na escola.
Muita história, mas eu explico rapidinho, tá? So pretty much she's doing some work in the home, and so one car was hers, one car was her assistant that she needs to have for her ECC license to help with the children. So one is hers, one is her assistant's, one is her son that's 21 years old, and the other 2 were vans that were there for the people that were there doing work in her home.
Well, there was one work vehicle
One
there.
work van. Uhum. E
Okay.
qual foi o outro carro? Maybe I missed the detail. Tem uma van só, e qual foi o outro?
O outro carro era do rapaz que trabalha com o meu marido, ele precisou deixar aqui, que a esposa vinha buscar.
That's my fault. So one car was the husband got picked up in the morning, and they dropped off their car and took the van that the husband has for work out to work for the day. And the guy that was there in the morning to go with him left his car there for the day.
Okay. And my next question I was going to ask you was the number of employees. So we have 10 children, and I presume her state license does not allow her to watch 10 children at once, correct?
Well, that's why she has an assistant, and that is correct. Her license does not allow.
How many children can she watch at once under her state license?
Quantas crianças você pode assistir sozinha?
Sozinha eu posso assistir 8.
Alone, she can only do 8.
She can watch 8 children by herself?
Correct. For her license.
Okay. All right. So she's got a full-time assistant. Okay. So there would be 3 cars.
Ela é full-time com você ou ela é part-time?
So we could say that there's probably going to be 4 cars at all time in the driveway during the day, exclusive of the people that are coming and going from the daycare.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, between her car and then her son's car, of course, her son would take her car to school during the days that he goes to school. But then there are days that they're doing the both homeschool and going to school. So the days that he goes to school, there wouldn't be his car there. Today, he happened to be doing the school from home. So it would be basically her car and her assistant's car. And if, yes, her husband gets picked up or, has somebody get picked up and leave their car there, then you could assume that 3 cars would be safer. But yes, perhaps if there was a worker in the house for that particular day, that would be where the 4th car would come from.
Okay. All right. That's all I have for now. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mariana.
Peraí, amiga, a gente já volta, porque eles têm perguntas, a gente volta. Pode deixar que eu pego.
Yeah, let's see if we can follow it in our direction. Mr. Barron, any questions of the petitioner?
No, I visited the site yesterday, and the teenage son was kind enough to show me the play area to the rear of the house. He also gave me an opportunity to see the new construction in the basement area. The contractor was on site working on that. And the preparations for a play area, essentially undercover in the basement, which will be very close to the play area in the backyard, was very evident, and there's an awful lot of work that's gone on to do this. The front of the house, the rest of the property is kept in fairly good condition. The The backyard, I think, may have a future water problem because it's somewhat of a low ground, but that is something that they're going to have to deal with as a separate issue in the future. But the play area is very adequate for the number of kids, I would assume.
All right, and Mr. Nicanello?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. And good evening, petitioners.
Thank you, Mayor.
How long have you been doing that type of work at that facility right now?
She purchased the property in March of this year.
March of this year?
15 days before the state of emergency due to COVID.
And there was some correspondence about a family-related apartment, which you are not doing?
Say that again?
There was some correspondence regarding an apartment you were making in the basement. Is that correct?
No
Yes.
apartment, but there was some comments about that, but that has never been her intention to turn that into an apartment.
Right, okay. And there's some comments about not obtaining a building permit for the work you're doing in the structure now. Is that correct?
Tem alguns comentários que você não pegou o permit para fazer o que você está fazendo agora, isso é verdade?
Não, eu peguei o permit. O que aconteceu foi que houve um equívoco. Eu achei que o que a Cristine tinha me liberado era o permit. Então, aí eu comecei a construção, mas a todo momento eu estive com o senhor Mark tentando o permit e houve alguns mal-entendidos por causa da língua, mas depois a gente conseguiu regularizar.
So it started with that because, as you can see, there is a huge language barrier. That's why I basically blocked my agenda of running 1,000 things right now to be here for her tonight. And I know that all of you are here for the same purpose, to help people in need. So I appreciate that. What she's saying is that she messed a whole lot of stuff up from not understanding. However, they were able to rectify that, and she's been in contact with Mark Grills as well as Christine and everyone else, because it has always been her intention to never do anything wrong. She's a law-abiding citizen and she wants to continue to retain that.
Fala para ele que
I'm
o que
sorry, go ahead.
aconteceu. Sorry.
Não conta muita história, amiga. Tem que ser rápido. Você tá
Ok.
falando muita história, tá bom? Okay, sorry about that. Say that
Yeah,
again.
yeah, no problem. So there is a building permit now that's been issued to the building?
Tem uma permit agora que foi já
Yes.
aberta. Yes.
Yes.
There was one other question, a business certificate for the daycare that you have registered through the state, which is fine, but the town of Yarmouth and mostly all the other towns in the Commonwealth, 351 of them, require a business within that town to be registered with the town clerk and a business certificate. Has that been done?
Você já fez algum certificado com a prefeitura, com a cidade, registrando o seu business, o seu daycare?
O DBA, não, ainda não.
She
Mas
has
se for necessário, yes.
But
Mas eu declaro todos os impostos.
Fala de novo?
Eu declaro todos os impostos como meu business, mas eu não tenho um DBA. Mas se for necessário, eu faço.
She said there would be no issue filing one. She was not aware that she had to do one, and she will be happy to do one. She has continued to pay her taxes as the business and has always filed everything appropriately. But has she ever gotten a certificate, a good standing with the town? No, she has not done that. However, she's happy to pursue that if that's something that the board would recommend.
Well, it's not what the board recommends. It's just
It's a state
a
requirement, I heard.
town.
Yes.
If you have a business, you have to register with it. And there was correspondence in this packet, which we did a wonderful job putting it all together, I may add.
70-something pages, yes.
That there was mention about a business certificate, but nothing has been finalized in what I read. And I own a bunch of businesses myself, and I would encourage you to get that as soon as possible.
I'll help her right away. Absolutely. Now that it's come to my attention, I will help her take that forward.
So I did have another question. The daycare is operational for only 5 days a week?
É 5 dias por semana, amigas, de segunda a sexta?
De segunda a sexta.
Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday. No exceptions.
No exception.
Não,
Tem
não,
alguma extensão? Ok.
não.
Chairman, that's all I have at the moment. Thank you very much, and thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much,
Thank-
Mr. Canala.
Thank you. Mr. Martin?
Yeah, so I guess the change is being made, yeah, the 3-bedroom house is turning into a 4-bedroom, right? With the finishing over the garage for the 4th bedroom.
That would be her ultimate intention, Dick, and good to see you, by the way. That would be her ultimate intention, is to finish the room over the garage as a master for her and for her husband.
So the daycare that had been taking place, was that taking place on the first floor, in the living area or whatever? The idea is to finish the basement, right?
Yeah, so as of right now, from what I understand, and I will confirm this with her, she was approved to run it from the large spaces that she had in the first floor of her home, until the basement would be finished. She has a fairly sizable home. I believe it's just over 2,500 square feet-ish. So when her intention was to finish a huge game room downstairs with a wet bar area, so she could wash cups as she's feeding the kids for lunch, things like that. And then not necessarily use that as an apartment of any sort, just like a family room area that would be utilized as the daycare, and then a master on the second floor. But again, that's something that the daycare comes first for her. So that's something that she's willing to discuss if that would be required.
And the intent of the daycare in the basement, that's going to have a full bathroom there, I see from the plan.
Yes, that would have a full bath.
Right. Okay. I don't have any other questions right now. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I have a few questions, please. Did I cover everybody so far? Mr. Barron, Mr. Igo, Mr. Nicanella, I know Mr. Martin. Everybody's covered, right? I don't want to be jumping over anybody. So a few questions that I have, please, if you I want, and this is in part, some of the information I'm asking is in part because no matter the vote tonight, a decision must be drafted, and I need detail for that decision, okay? So can you tell me, please, in answer to Mr. Martin's question there, how it is you're going to be able to transition from a 10 child permit to a on the first floor kitchen, living room, dining room. But when the basement's resolved, you'll be able to go down there and create the daycare. Doesn't that require a whole new state certification process?
Would you mind so kindly to repeat the first like 30 seconds? You kept freezing and I didn't quite grasp everything I should be translating right now, Mr. Dion.
Sure, that's fine. That's fine. It's fine. I get it. So there is a certificate of from the Department of Early Education and Care that licenses this facility for 10 children capacity, identifying the area of the daycare, family care as first floor kitchen, living room, dining room. When the basement's finished, you've just indicated the intention is to go down there. There's going to be a wet bar and the like. Isn't that going to require a whole new licensure here?
Let me find out. I don't know. I will ask her. Rosângela, quando você terminar o basement, você vai precisar de uma nova licença do ESC para aprovar o basement como o lugar aonde o daycare vai ser operacionado?
Yes. Minha licenciadora vem e faz toda a vistoria. Se está tudo adequado com segurança.
So normally, yes, when you transfer to any new space within your home, the accessory board from that particular organization would come out to assure that it's within the guidelines of what they would expect to reissue. Yes.
Yeah, that was my understanding. I just wanted to clarify it and verify it. Will you tell me, please, about the yard enclosure? What's the fence?
Você pode me falar um pouquinho mais sobre o seu jardim, querida? Como que é a sua fence? Anything specific you'd like to know, Mr. DeYoung, other than the setup?
I want to know what the fence is, how high it is, what does it cover?
Qual que é a altura dela, da fence? Qual que é a altura?
São 6 pés a altura dela.
It's about 6 feet tall, and they're vinyl fence. And it's enclosed the entire yard.
Ela é cercada, o meu quintal atrás da minha casa todo, e ela é dividida com cerca ainda somente para as crianças ter um espaço só para elas, com cerca branca.
And there's also there's a contained and then a backyard that's entirely contained, and then a section within that that's also contained just for the children during their playtime.
Okay, so there's, how is that separated from?
Yes.
You said separated, how is it separated?
Como que é separado? Você tem então o jardim cercado e depois tem uma esquininhazinha que você separado para as crianças?
Eu cerquei o fundo do meu quintal todinho, aí eu dividi ele um espaço.
Para a direita, para a esquerda, no meio, aonde?
Para direita, para a esquerda.
So to the left of the lot is where she secluded, think of a box within a box. So she basically fenced in her entire yard and then took a part of that fenced in yard and fenced that in to the right of the property. Para a direita, você falou, certo?
Esquerda.
Para a esquerda. To the left of the property, she fenced in another part where the kids could be somewhat separated. So she did that so that some kids would be running around in a certain part of the yard, but then the fence would protect a certain other block of kids. And she's doing this to just keep things distanced as much as possible.
Exato.
Safety and health.
Eu separei por causa que eu tenho vizinhos idosos do lado, então eu não queria que as crianças ficassem muito próximo da casa deles para não fazer barulho, e também porque eu tenho uma subida, um declive no terreno, então para a segurança das crianças eu deixei no espaço onde é mais plano.
She also put that particular part of the enclosure in an area within the lot that is located farther away from the home where she knows she has neighbors, elderly neighbors that live in it full time. So she was trying to contain somewhat of the perhaps distractions that may come from that by secluding the kids towards a different side, opposite side from her neighbor, because on the other side is where Baxter is. So she only has a neighbor on one side and then across the street. And she has a huge corner lot.
Okay. Is this her first licensed daycare in Massachusetts?
Esse é o seu primeiro licensed daycare in Massachusetts, amiga?
Sim.
Yes,
não, perdão.
Okay.
Eu comecei, minha primeira licença foi em Hyannis. Aí que eu fiquei 3 anos em Hyannis, aí eu vim para West Yarmouth e eu
Pegou a licença de novo? Tem que pegar.
Tive
que a licença? Okay.
Yes, tive
So
que renovar.
she had her license. Her first license was in the address of Kelly Road in Hyannis. That was where she operated it for 3 years, which is about 3 miles away from this location. And this particular one, she just got relicensed when she purchased the property in West Yarmouth around March of this year.
And that relicense is through the state, right?
Yeah.
Licenciada
In
pelo
June.
Estado. Yes.
In around June of this year.
Foi junho
So
desse
if-
ano ou foi maio?
Que eu fui licenciada pelo Estado?
I don't care that it's May or June, in around. In around.
Março de
So
2017.
I've got okay, my question then is, how, following up on, I think it was Mr. Nicanello, who very appropriately asked them, were you familiar with the licensing procedure, whether it's in the town of Yarmouth or the town of Hyannis, that you didn't pursue before opening a daycare?
Você foi familiar com essas regras antes de mudar para Yarmouth?
Não, nunca sabia e nunca foi um requisito do IC. Eu fui descobrir essas regras quando eu enviei o pedido de permit em março, que eu enviei o pedido de permit, que eu descobri essa regra na cidade de Yarmouth. Quando eu solicitei o permit de construção.
So she was saying that for her Hyannis property, it was no issue getting her permitted there. When she applied with the state for this particular one, it was when she first discovered that there would be an issue in this particular area of Yarmouth. So
I don't think it answers my question, though.
Okay.
I don't think it answers my question, whether it's here in Yarmouth or over in Hyannis. It would have required same relief in Hyannis that it requires here. It's not a matter of right for daycare in residential neighborhoods. It requires Board of Appeal approval. So did she obtain Board of Appeal approval in the town of Barnstable?
Você teve que pegar algum Board of Appeal approval na área de Barnstable ou nunca foi um problema?
Não, nunca foi uma exigência do IC, então eu não sei assim
She
como
never required it, is what she's
responsável
saying.
não
She
sabe
never had an issue there.
Tá
Is
todo
it
mundo,
Okay.
mundo surpreso.
All right, did she get a business license in the town of Barnstable?
Você tem uma business license na cidade de Barnstable? Em outras palavras, como que você teve um business? É o que eles estão falando.
Na
Você
cidade
não
de
tem-
Barnstable?
Se você não tem uma licença para ter um business. Tipo, você tem uma licença do SCC para ter um child care, mas você não tem um business registrado com a prefeitura.
Porque nunca foi uma exigência.
She never knew she had to. It was never required by the ECC. And
É uma creche
it was there
familiar.
a lack of not knowing.
Uh-huh. Okay.
She's done everything she's been told to do, and she's willing to do anything she's told to do. But she didn't.
Okay,
know.
and I appreciate the language barrier, but I don't appreciate when people come before us having been told to do it instead of doing it by researching and thinking about the process.
I
Okay?
completely understand. Yeah, language can be a huge barrier. I know because I had to learn it, as you can tell.
So when we think of this project as up and running for 5 days a week at staggered intervals for each child to appear between 7 and 9 and to disappear between 3 and 5. Are they truly going to be designated times so that not more than one parent is dropping off at a time?
That is how it's happening now, but let me confirm. Ele tá
No, it's going to be a
perguntando-
condition, I suspect, but
Yeah, exactly. Let me confirm though. I'm here to translate. I don't want to be the one to actually say anything that's not. Rosângela, o que ele está perguntando é como que você vai confirmar e dar certeza que as pessoas que estão sendo dropped off vão estar separadas para não ter esse monte de carro ao mesmo tempo? O que você vai estar fazendo? Você tem como confirmar que esses horários vão sempre estar separados entre 10 a 15 minutos?
Exato, porque eu uso um aplicativo e os pais já são conscientes que eles não podem vir fora do horário pegar as crianças.
Uhum.
Se eles atrasarem, eles têm que reagendar o horário.
Okay, so basically what she's saying is she's had a conversation with everyone because they all value her services. They've all been there. The majority of people that she has have been there for more than 2 years. The majority have been almost 3. So she actually had a conversation when she opened the daycare with everyone that if they are running more than 5 minutes late, they have to reschedule a time. So
Okay.
that all parents are very aware that if they miss their scheduled time to drop off, they cannot just barge in there.
And so specifically, the schedule that she's set up permits, if properly run, that nobody will be picking up, no two parents, different families will be picking up at the same time, right?
Got it. And she
So
actually has an application as well that sends them an alert of when their time is due to pick up their child.
Yes.
So she's very, very big about that because she understands she's not trying to form what she was saying to me before we got into this meeting is she doesn't want to form enemies in her own neighborhood. She lives there. So she's trying to keep it amicable for all involved around her. She's not trying to cause any trouble. She's just trying to do the right thing by the people that have hired her to take care of their children.
Is the Hyannis daycare still in operation?
Como é que chama? O daycare de Hyannis está ainda em operação ou fechou?
Não, já fechou em março.
No, it's already closed.
All right. So I've heard some express concern about the driveway. The pictures helped me an awful lot on that. And seeing it on the ground is always a different thing, but whether it's the angle they're taken at or what, I just don't see even perhaps 5 cars being a problem in that driveway. So, all right. So at this point, I have no further questions, and I'm going to ask. I'm sorry. Yeah, before I go there, I'll read in the 2 pieces of the 1 piece of correspondence that I have. Many pieces of correspondence via primarily email, and some faxed documents were sent to our board. And the majority of them were sent to our board today. And it is not possible, strategically impossible for those to be disseminated to each member, that they are assured of getting them in time to actually go about their usual required functions and also make time to read them. It is logistically problematic, and we want to hear everybody's voice and hear and consider everybody's praise for the project or disagreement with the project. We cannot do that when they come to us the day of the hearing in these COVID-19 times. Please, if any of you are listening out there, understand we're going to get to a point where we're going to disregard them. We'll make our own Board of Appeals rule that we will not accept correspondence with later than 24 hours in advance of the hearing. That's what's going to come if we don't stop it. So this has happened before, and it can't be allowed to continue to happen. I've said my piece on that. Is the one piece of correspondence that I have, though, in my file, is my husband and I have lived at, well, let me ask, is Ms. Gregorio here? Ms. Moderator?
I do not see a Ms. Gregorio here. No.
Right. So then I will read it into the record, please, as my husband and I have lived at 11 Rogia Road in West Yarmouth quietly for over 22 years. What drew us to this area was the peace and quiet of the neighborhood. The present owners at 3 Rogeria Road moved from their residence in South Dennis approximately 3 months ago. During that time, they have been residing here. Their unlicensed teenage boys drove the family automobile and almost hit my neighbor. That's awful. And at a different time, barely missed hitting me while walking our dog. Please tell your sons to be a little careful with the motor vehicles, will you? That's how to make good neighbors, you know. Our dirt road measures 14 foot wide, just wide enough to accommodate an ambulance or fire truck. And if a variance is granted, access from Baxter Road to our road, Rogia Road, will be limited as clients will be dropping off their children and picking them up daily. As of this date, 3 Rogia Road has been running an unlicensed daycare since they moved in. Please help me. The road that intersects with Rogia Road, that's paved, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's Baxter.
Yeah, and that's my point. Rogia Road is a road off of the main thoroughfare, Baxter.
Correct. And this property is on the corner lot. And if I may, Rosangela did mention to me about the fact that she was speaking to her neighbor, which actually outside, when speaking to her, didn't even know she had a daycare in there running out of that property. And Rosangela doesn't really know if she's maybe, you know, if her sons are not telling her something,
Yeah,
but she's not aware at all of any of that.
Yeah. All right, let's see if I can go back to the letter. Baxter Road is a main back road from Hyannis and is heavily congested, and a child could easily be maimed or killed, as the area where the children will be and has a side gate to Baxter Road, which is left open quite a bit, causing a catastrophe. I would imagine that the state's licensing authority would require that to be locked at all daycare times. And if a daycare has been running, is that true that it's been left open?
Ele
with
está
little
perguntando
children?
se tem alguma verdade nessa carta do primeiro. Eu já falei do negócio do carro, ele não quis escutar agora do negócio do carro, que eu só falei que você não sabe sobre os seus filhos batendo em ninguém ou quase batendo em ninguém. O que ele está perguntando é, os gates têm que ficar aberto, tem que ficar fechado com algum lock para poder ficar com as crianças dentro, porque o neighbor está falando que tem medo das crianças correr para a rua da Baxter, que é bem ocupada, e praticamente ser atropelado. Então, pelas regras do estado, você tem que trancar esse gate?
Sim, eu tranco, e além de trancar, eu tenho câmeras de segurança com sensores de movimento. Então, se alguém se aproxima do portão, eu recebo um alerta que alguém se aproximou do portão de saída Então, se alguma criança for sair sem minha permissão ou alguma coisa, eles não vão ficar assistindo.
Okay.
My dogs often complain during this meeting, but they weren't mine, okay?
Okay. So what she answered to this is that not only she has the gate locked, she has sensors and cameras that alert her. If anyone gets close and has an approximated distance to such gate, she receives an alert. So not only she has cameras and sensors, she also keeps the gate locked.
Thank you. I'm reading on the letter. In addition, this is a residential neighborhood and not a business area. Well, that's exactly why you're before us seeking relief. So with the gridlock of summer, it is common knowledge Baxter Road is used as a shortcut to eliminate a long section of Route 28, and in doing so, travel at a very high rate of speed. I may have been guilty of that once or twice. This is an extremely dangerous road and not safe for anyone walking, whether it be an adult or small child who found a way out of the enclosed area. I had to swerve to avoid a tragedy. An automobile by someone who was possibly under the influence of alcohol or drugs almost wiped out a family walking to the beach. It has been brought to my attention that the woman applying for this variance is pregnant.
That's not true.
How will she be safe to take care of children as her pregnancy progresses without a great deal of help? I'm not going to ask you to chime in on that at all. It's none of our business if you're pregnant or not, okay?
Yeah, I was even going to say it doesn't even have anything to do with the daycare request.
So this is a letter from as I say, Kathleen and Louis Gregorio, who have been identified to me as one of the 4 letters that we have received in opposition to this petition, there being another 12 that are in favor. And I don't have a letter from Susan Ellis in my possession, but if Susan Ellis is present, she's welcome to either read it or speak. Ms. Moderator, could you tell
She's
them?
not present. I do not see her.
All right. Does someone have the letter that they could read into the record?
I have the letter.
Would you please read that into the record for us? Suzanne Ellis.
To Town Hall of Yarmouth, Massachusetts. We live in the neighborhood of 3 Rogia Road. We received a postcard regarding the family living at 3 Rogia Road and their quest to run a daycare. Apparently, based on the multitude of cars coming and going and the number of small children there daily, they were already running a daycare and have been for some time. We do not support a daycare at 3 Rogia Road or anywhere else in this neighborhood for a multitude of reasons. We have had a great deal of trouble with traffic driving too fast down our short dirt road since this family has moved in. The traffic has intensified, people drive too fast, and it created great fear for us. Vehicles coming from 3 Rogia Road have driven approximately 35 miles per hour past our home. This is terribly scary to us. We have children. On one occasion, the car was driven by the teenage boy who apparently lives at 3 Rogia Road. There are not only their family cars, but unknown cars that drive past us daily. We drive no more than 10 miles per hour on Rogia or Eddy. We consistently see a very small 10-pound dog off leash coming from that residence as well. He travels on Baxter, Rogia, and Eddy. This dog will eventually get hit on Baxter Avenue where the speed limit is 35 miles per hour. The family leaves their fences and doors open and the dog escapes. What if this happened to a child in their care? Last week, an ATV was driving around the neighborhood on the paved roads. It came from 3 Rogia Road. The police were called by a neighbor and the situation was addressed. The neighborhood is not zoned for commercial business, yet there are up to 5 named commercial fence or painting vehicles topped with ladders on the front yard of that property at any time. This is a residential neighborhood. We do not feel it is appropriate to have businesses run out of homes here. Hopefully the town building department is on top of this. This house has already had a bright orange stop order sign posted on their front door. This occurred within a few short months of their moving in. They are also the noisiest house in the neighborhood with the music blaring and children yelling at any time. Just this morning, children were yelling before 8 a.m. The neighborhood is very upset about the situation. It appears that the individuals that live at 3 Rogia Road are unable to follow some of the basic rules and laws of Yarmouth. Please let us know if there's anything we further need to do to stop this daycare from operating. We are also open to addressing the multitude of other issues that are occurring at this time. Sincerely, Suzanne Ellis.
And is there a Mary Lynch Bagarella present or via Zoom?
I do not see her.
And I understand this correspondence from her.
Yes. Would you
I
like
do
me to
not
read?
have- Yes, please.
Good morning, Sandy. As per our conversation last week, and as owner of 34 Baxter Avenue, I'm opposed to this petition for the home daycare center. It would be a great safety hazard to residents, visitors, as well as the children employees of any such facility at that location, given the volume and speeds of traffic on Baxter Avenue. Unfortunately, Baxter Avenue is used by many as access road to the hospital for employees and patients, and it is traveled often at very high speeds, and volume significantly increases at morning and afternoon times already. The entrance to and from Baxter onto Route 28 is also already very congested and extremely dangerous. It will add far more traffic to our already congested residential street. Also, we have a large population of coyotes in closely wooded area of our neighborhood. I've had 2 jump the 6-foot fence into my backyard in the last 5 months. Also, as far as I'm aware, we are a residential zone, and the size and structure of the proposed daycare appears to be one that would belong in a commercially zoned area. I plan to attend the meeting, and again, as an abutter, I object to the entire petition. Thank you, Mary Lynch Bagarella. But again, I do not see her as an attendee.
All right, thank you very much, Kathy. There is a Christina Murley, Murley, that has also written a letter. Ms. Murley, are you present? If so, please let the moderator know.
I do not see her.
All right, I don't have the letter. Would you mind reading it into the record for me, please?
Certainly. To whom it may concern, I am appalled that homeowners at the corner of Rogier Road and Baxter Avenue would be allowed to open a daycare center, but not surprised. When the family first moved in, they had far more yard toys than any one family could ever have. The lawn and backyard were literally filled with playthings, so much so you could barely see the grass. All I have heard from the house since is children screaming and the lady of the house yelling out the window. She's never in the yard with the children, and some of them are very young babies. I thought no one can have that many children in the same age group. I was right. They have been operating the daycare since day one. The amount of garbage is more than one family could generate. I am not some wealthy retiree who bought a house here to have a quiet neighborhood where no one stirs. Instead, I have lived in this house my entire life of 65 years and was raised here with 3 siblings. Every house has children. At no time did we ever make as much noise as comes from this house. I have also taught school, as did my mother, so I do like children, but I can also tell the difference between gleeful kid sounds at play versus wails of misery. These children are not being kept happy, content, and thoughtfully well cared for. I do hope you would not grant these people a license to operate a daycare center, as what they are doing now is not pleasant to live next door to. Sincerely, Christina C. Murley, 60 Baxter Avenue.
All right, and is that the extent of the, I think I asked you before the meeting started, if you could identify the correspondence that was in opposition to the grant of the petition, and you indicated there were 4, and these are those 4, is that correct?
Those are the only ones I have. I think Sandy mentioned something about 2 being received very, very recently, just prior to the meeting, which I do not have.
Yeah, I don't know how we can respond to those things, and I'm not going to. There were 12 additional in favor of the petition, 12 letters in favor of the petition. And as I understand it, those can be best described as in favor because they're the parents of some of the children.
Excuse me, there are some people who have their hand raised, and I don't know whether they wanted to speak.
I'm going through the correspondence first.
Okay, sorry.
We'll do their agenda.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I don't know that anybody cares to read in 12 of those because they are all, basically in favor of the petition because it favors their children's care. So that's the correspondence. We now open it up to the public's commentary on the petition, should they be present and wish to speak. And remember, we do have a chat room if you can't log in with voice ability. So all those people that are in, should anyone be in favor of the petition who would like to speak, please let yourself be known to our moderator so that we may call you. No, not right now.
There are 2 people with their hand raised.
All right, ask them if you would please, if they would like to speak, and if so, please invite them in.
I can't ask them. I can just unmute them and they can speak.
All right, go ahead.
And LG Aristo has been unmuted.
All right.
They may have to unmute themselves.
Hello?
Yes, yeah. Why don't you tell us what you have to tell us?
I'm sorry, I raised my hand at the wrong time. I'm not in favor, I'm actually in opposition.
Okay, good. Then why don't you step back because apparently there's somebody else in favor.
Okay, sorry about
All
that.
right. No, that's fine. That's okay. No big deal. Is there another person that is in favor? Identify themselves by raising their hand, please.
Kathy Gavin has her hand raised.
All right. Can you call on her, please? Ask her to unmute. Ms. Gavin?
I don't know where she went. Oh, there she is. Sorry. She may have changed her mind. I think she put her hand down.
Okay.
I'm talking, I wanted to respond to, I am not in favor of this. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Are you Kathy Gavin?
I am.
Okay, well, the request was that anybody that we have a way that we proceed with these hearings. And the
I
request was,
understand.
ma'am, I'm speaking.
Oh.
That anybody in favor of the petition, please raise their hand. We're going to follow the usual procedure tonight, although I understand there are people that wish to speak. Is there anybody in favor of the petition, that would like to speak? And if so, please raise your hand.
I'm in favor.
Okay, we don't know who you are. Perhaps the town moderator can figure that out.
She's Katia Costa.
Yeah.
Who is it?
Katia Costa. Just want to let you know that I know Rosangela for many years. I know her work. And many of people like telling that she's pregnant. She isn't even pregnant. So who was against it and say that maybe could have made a confusion. I don't know, but I know her work. I know how she treat the kids. She's a very loving provider. And she's a very nice person. I know her family. I know they are very nice people as well. Her children's. That you take a nice look at her case because I know her work.
All right, and I'm sorry, I did not get your name. Would you give it to me again, please?
Yes, of course. It's Katia Costa.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Now, does anyone else did you have something else you wanted to say? Okay, is there anybody else in our audience that would care to speak in favor of this petition? Please raise your hand.
There are two hands raised. Oh, one.
And this is in favor, we're asking again, okay?
There's a Kadima Leet. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name.
Kadima Leet.
Oh,
Would you, I need a spelling, guys.
No, actually, I'm using her computer.
I just want somebody to tell me then.
It's spelled Keidima, the first name, and I guess it was Leite, Leite.
Thank you. All right, please go ahead and tell us what you'd like to say. Ms. Leite, please go ahead and tell us what you'd like to say.
Keidima Leite, pode falar o que você quer, eles estão esperando. Você tem que tirar o muro.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I apologize. My name is Helen Rowell, and I'm actually at the home of Rosangela. And I'd like to first say, Mariana, your translation is perfect. But
look, we got a problem. But if I could stop you for just a moment.
Okay.
You may have two iPads in the same room.
Okay.
And what that does is it creates an unbearable reverb in our ears. So.
Okay, I'm walking away. So I'm actually at the home, and I know Rosangela. She was one of my students, an ESL student, because I teach for the Center for Corporate and Professional Education. I'd like to speak to some of the comments. I don't know if I'm even allowed because I don't know this official procedure, but regarding the driveway, this is a huge driveway. It is 3 cars wide regarding road and probably 3 cars deep. Literally 9 cars could be on that driveway. Second of all, Rogia Road is a dirt road. I don't think anyone's going to go flying down it without ruining their car. So I'm kind of really perplexed about that. I used to work for Cape Cod Child Development, so I'm very familiar with the standards that the state and that organization put forward. I was a child developer. I used to run play groups, etc. Her backyard is unbelievable as far as what it has to offer for these children. The entire thing is padded. These kids are super protected. The fence is brand new, and I've never seen a coyote jump a 6-foot fence. That's interesting to me. There were just several comments that were hearsay, and her sons are polite. These people work hard. They are taxpayers, and they are here to serve the people in this community that are desperate for safe, healthy, and happy daycare. As a mother, that is imperative. So I'm actually, I guess, responding to some of the really negative comments I've heard. I am not a neighbor. I have driven down Baxter. I am very careful when I drive down Baxter, and I am very safely parked in her driveway right now. Regarding the dog has this huge, am I still on? I can't tell actually.
Yes, you are.
I'm sorry. The dog has one of those protective things on its neck. It's got an invisible fence. These people are making assumptions for some very, I think, not kind reasons. Rosangela works hard. If you see the markings on her floor that she's put on her gorgeous hardwood floors to keep the kids distance, we could walk through the house right now. I'm not wearing a mask because I just walked away from them. Everybody wears a mask in this house. They have things where they pop their feet into, like you see at hospitals. They are doing things above and beyond the social distancing that I've seen anywhere else.
All right, I'd ask you to try and wrap your comments up in about
Well,
another.
I'm
Okay.
just here basically saying she is offering a service out of literally passion and compassion because she wants so much to serve the community. And I know some of the people, because it's a very small Cape Cod, believe me, English language learners, they're getting her service. She's being paid by the government. They aren't like giving her money. This isn't an under the table operation. And some of her neighbors need to realize this is a necessary service. I did write something. I am one of those horrible people that sent it today, and I do apologize and
Shame on
totally
you.
understand.
Shame
Yeah,
on you.
I know, and I apologize. I do apologize. But we're talking good people.
Okay, I think we get it. I
Yeah,
think we get
doing
it.
the
We
right
have
thing.
people that
Okay.
want to speak tonight.
Yeah.
And
thank
we have board members that want to go to bed at some point. So, all right. So let's go now. Is there anybody else?
There's one more hand up from a Megan McNamara.
And I'm sorry, I didn't get that last woman's name. It was?
McNamara?
No, Helen.
I'm
The
sorry.
last woman that spoke.
Oh, Leite, Leite?
No, that was Helen Rowell, Rowell.
Yeah, Kate,
Thank you.
Katrina Leite didn't get to speak. She didn't voice.
All right, we now have Megan.
My
what?
apologies. McNamara, Megan
Okay.
McNamara.
May we invite her to speak, please?
Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you for taking the time to meet with Rosangela over this important concern. I work as a coordinator with a referral agency, placing children in daycares. I've worked with Rosangela since October 2019 when I started there. And just so you know, we intentionally select family daycare providers who we feel provide the highest standards of childcare and who also operate from a level of personal integrity that would make me feel comfortable leaving my children there. Rosangela's daycare is absolutely one of the highest quality daycares that I have seen. I have easily seen over 45 daycares on Cape Cod. So I think that that speaks pretty highly. Also, just to reiterate what the last woman said, Rosangela really goes out of her way to serve families in need locally. She has families that pay privately, but she also has families from the Yarmouth area that need a little bit of assistance. And so she works with my agency to open her home up to those families. And it's sometimes taking a cost differential by supplying care for those particular families. So I just really wanted to make those points clear. I'll wrap it up. But yes, I'm absolutely in favor of anything you can do to help her continue that level of care for your community.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else that can identify themselves that wish to speak in favor of this petition? If so, please let yourself be known to the moderator.
I don't see anyone with their hand raised.
Can I raise my hand on this one?
Who is
Even though I
this?
came as a translator, Mariana.
Oh, no, you've told us all, really. I
Well, I told you
appreciate
what
that you're,
I didn't say my own personal opinion of her. I just said I was
well,
just
you
translating.
make it brief, please, because
I'll
you're an
make it
advocate
60
for her. You know,
Okay.
we're concerned about her
I'll make it
petition.
60 seconds. I'll go really fast.
Yeah.
So I've known Rosangela. She was referred to me by 3 different clients. I've known Rosangela for about a year now. And I can say that she's a very specific and attention to detail oriented person. I doubt that any of these comments that were made are actually speaking about the same person. She's caring, she's loving, she loves what she does. She pours her heart and her soul into what she does. She even, when purchasing for a property, specifically waited until she found something with a walk-out basement. So she did not put her kids in an underground type of place. And it took her months to find this home because she was specific about the well-being of these children. So that's what I wanted to voice.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Have we exhausted those people that wish to speak in favor of the petition at this time, Ms. Moderator?
I believe so. No one else has their hand raised.
All right. Does anyone in our audience care to speak in opposition to this petition? If so, raise your hand so the moderator can identify you, and we'll give all of you a chance to speak. I don't know how many of there you are. If they go on with repetitive comments, I'm going to ask that you curtail it and wrap it up quick. So if you're going to speak, feel free to speak, but speak about new things, not regurgitating or things you've already said, please. So can we call the first person that would like to speak in opposition to this?
Kathy Gavin, and she's already unmuted.
Yeah.
Sure, we've had her back already. We had her here once before tonight. Please go ahead, Kathy.
How do I unmute?
You're unmuted.
Oh,
You're
okay.
unmuted.
First of all, I'd like to say I am not questioning Rosangela's qualifications. She seems like a lovely woman, but this is a residential area. If all up to 10 children is really in excess. The traffic on Baxter is bad without all this. You know, I live right on this road, and it's sometimes you can't even get out of your own driveway because it's so busy. I'm concerned with her non-compliance in the Barnstable, getting her variance there or whatever it was. I'm concerned about the kids running around in this neighborhood, and there's only 2 adults for 10 children. I don't believe that's enough. I'm a mom. I have been for years, and I feel like 2 people to 10 children is not enough. At the traffic, and I'm really opposed to this, and I'm not going to keep you any longer because everybody knows the reasons why. The biggest one is I don't want a business here in this neighborhood. It's a lovely, quiet neighborhood. Everybody gets along here, and this is causing a lot of pain for people. I'm sure she's lovely, but I don't agree. So that's what I'm saying.
Well, thank you very much for your succinct comments. I appreciate that. Does anyone else in our audience care to speak in opposition?
LG Laristo?
Please, say the name again, please.
Just the letters LG and then Aristo, Aristo.
Thank you. Please go ahead and unmute.
Hello?
Yes,
Can you
please.
hear me?
Yeah, we can, yeah.
Okay. We are the ones that wrote the letter over 26 Regia Road. And one of the things that I'd like to say
Well,
first
wait a
off,
minute. May I stop you? Have you already had a letter read into the record?
yes, but yeah.
Yeah.
However,
well, make your comments very quick.
Okay. One of the things that didn't happen is a lot of these neighbors are very elderly. Most of them could not operate Zoom. A lot of them have trouble driving, let alone operate Zoom. And they faxed letters because they really didn't know what to do with the letters. And some of them were prepared to go down to town hall because the postcard said appear in person. It didn't say it was going to be a Zoom meeting. So we have a multitude of neighbors that didn't get to say anything because they're elderly, they're opposed to this. Some people didn't get letters because these are summer homes, and the woman at on Eddy Street, which is the other little road that goes by Rogia, her name, and she said that I could speak for them. They received their card in Dedham today because they went to pick up their mail because they're not here full time. So a lot of these neighbors come and go, and there would be a lot more opposition because of the traffic. This little dirt road cannot handle this kind of traffic. We've had to put barriers out. We've had neighbors upset. I honestly have been crying over here. I've got 4 kids. We're stuck here with COVID. We can't handle this traffic. We can't handle the fast driving vehicles and the ATVs. I mean, we just can't handle it here.
All right. Well, I think that we usually ask people to either read in their letter or give them an opportunity to speak. We've allowed you both, and I thank you very much for your comments. I do want to say, because I agree with you wholeheartedly, that COVID and the new reality of how we're communicating and conducting business is something we're still putting our toe into the tepid water. So we are not necessarily adept at it completely. And about people getting notice at their home in Dedham, I mean, I don't know what to say about that. We go off of a real estate tax list, a butters list, and they give the address they want to send their bill to. So that's all we can do. You can't go out searching down for them. But I thank you for your comments. Do we have anybody else that would like to speak in opposition?
We have a Mark Galkowski, that's Galkowski, who has his hand raised.
Surely. Well, please let's unmute him and let him speak.
Good evening, board members. Appreciate your time and efforts tonight, and I realize this last hearing of the night. I represent my mother's estate of property at 41 Baxter Ave, which lies directly across Rogia Road from the subject property. Also, we own lot 10 on Rogia Road, have since 1970. We've owned Baxter Ave since 64. I want to address simply the issue of the location, nothing to do with the folks that run the daycare or anything like that, because I don't know enough about it and I'm not in a position to. But basically, in full disclosure, the property of Baxter Ave is under agreement. We have not closed on it yet, obviously, but it is under agreement. As it relates to Rogia Road, you know it's a dirt road. It's covered with a 3/4 process. I would assume that there have been 10 children in attendance at the daycare. It's been a dry summer. It's a very dusty road. But beyond that, the driveway access is a 2-car garage. So, you know, figure if you have small cars, there's potentially 6 vehicles there that can fit in that driveway. Rogia Road is one, a butter has already said it's only 14 feet wide. There is nowhere to park. on either side of that road. It's a 40-foot layout, but it's only built to 14 feet. So if someone parks along the side of the road, it's an issue. Also, if year-round operation, we have to be concerned about snow removal. Where does the snow get placed? So those are some things I'd ask the board to take into consideration. If you have 6 children, as the special permit allows for, that's potentially 12 car trips a day. If there's 20, that's 20 car trips a day. So those are my concerns. I would say that in preparing the property this summer, I've witnessed some of the comings and goings. Now, if these statements that have been made tonight regarding the timed releases is the case, you do see people congregating in the driveway all together at different times. So there's the proposal on the times, but then there's reality. So those are my comments tonight for your consideration. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would care to speak in opposition to this petition? If you raise your hand, the moderator will call upon you.
Do not see any hands raised, and there's no new
All right,
comments.
so that then closes it to the public's commentary on the petition and their thoughts of it. And we now open it up to board discussion and deliberations. And I just, before we go on, may I just get another question answered for me? Please. Is there a manner in which a car can safely back out of this driveway? Or rather, turn within the driveway so they're not backing out onto the street?
There is currently no. I would say there's no turnaround spot if that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
You would have to back up into the street. I will say it is a dirt road, so I don't think it's a street that anyone could really go fast on, because it would really ruin the bottom of your car. Like all the rocks would just kick right up. Is there enough space
So
there?
the answer is no.
The answer is no. But she does have a 2-car garage, plus she's got some room to the left, plus she's got room to the right. So if she needed to create some kind of like a circular driveway in front of her home, that might be a solution around that, sir.
Okay, thank you very much
You're welcome.
for chiming in on that. That's an excellent idea for that question that I asked, to resolve that one anyway. I apologize for not having asked that earlier. Let's start with Mr. Nicanello. Do you have any comment you want to make on what we just heard, Mr. Nicanello?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We did hear quite a bit for pros and cons, and I think one of the biggest things is, as always with a daycare provider, everybody always wants to know, why is this business in my residential neighborhood? And we can't do anything about that, because as far as I understand, that is permitted, and it is a hard thing to swallow, but it's definitely needed. I mean, these kids are the next future, and they could be sitting on this board, and we need to make sure that they have a place to live. So with that, I have no more questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments by you, Mr. Barron, or questions you may have of the petition before we move to votes?
I'm reminded of a similar petition back a few months ago at Pocanocket and Wampanoag, where it wound up in court for the conditions not too dissimilar from what we see here. Having been on the site and seeing the conditions there, I tend to be in favor of the petition.
Thank you, Mr. Barron. Mr. Igo.
Thank
you. Would you please, we don't need comments, so thank you, okay? Mr. Igo, please.
Mr. Chairman, point of order, is the hearing closed to the public?
Yes.
It is. Okay, so we're deliberating this matter, just so.
That's correct. Yes, I think I said that earlier. We're closing it to public commentary and
All right,
input.
I want to address one thing here. We have two forms of relief in front of us. We have a request for special permit. We have a request for variance. The request for variance is for 10 children. We don't allow 10 children in the town of Yarmouth. We allow up to 6. I don't personally believe they meet the criteria for a variance. I would listen to them. I haven't heard them tell us how they meet the criteria for a variance. So as far as I'm concerned, they don't meet the criteria for a variance, so I could not support 10 children. Having said that, we do offer relief by way of special permit, and that's how it's granted. It's not granted as a matter of right, it's granted as a matter by way of special permit. We do allow up to 6 children if they meet the criteria, which is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood, no undue nuisance, congestion, or hazard, or a derogation from the purpose and intent of the bylaw. I will say I do believe that she is qualified to run a daycare. It sounds like she certainly has some advocates here tonight who spoke very favorably. I don't know her personally. I will say that I have not concerns with her personally or her business, but where it is, I'm concerned that it is a busy road. I'm concerned with the number of trips to and from on and off of Baxter Ave. I'm very concerned about the time of day. I think 7 a.m. is too early. So I wouldn't be in favor of starting that early. I mean, I personally, you know, we've got people who are living in the house. There's always 3 to 4 cars there. It's a corner lot. Am I speaking or is someone else speaking, Mr. Chairman?
No, you are.
Oh, okay. I'm getting a reverb somewhere. Okay. So those are just some of my concerns. I'm not quite sure that I'm convinced that this is a good site for a daycare for the reasons that I said, but I will listen to others and get their comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Igo. Mr. Martin, please.
This is one of those catch-22s. It's a difficult circumstance. It certainly is. It seems like Mrs. Texera is running a very good business, so to speak, and a service to the community. And I understand that and appreciate that. Is it the right location? I have some concerns about that. I mean, a daycare center with 10 children is, you know, there's cars coming and going, even if they are staggered, that's certainly a help, but it's not taking care of it completely. Some of the neighbors seem to have a concern about noise and that many children in the backyard, and kids make noise, and you know, she has 3 of her own children as well. And, you know, that's kind of concern. Again, I have some reservations about whether it's a great spot for a large home daycare center. I could probably be convinced to give some relief, but again, I'm not sure about the variance, as Sean says. I don't see the criteria, maybe one, but not all the criteria being met. I also think it probably should be limited to no more than 6 people, which is the definition that we allow, or 6 children, I should say. And so, you know, I have a lot of mixed emotions here, but I'd have to zero in on the fact that we've got some problem with the criteria for the variance, and 10 children seems to be too many as well.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. From my perspective, I think that we have to do a balancing, as you suggest. The bylaws are crafted by the town meeting process. And in this instance, we have an opportunity to obtain by special permit the grant that town meeting specifically set. And that's to allow 6 children. in a family daycare in a residential setting. I understand the neighbors may be concerned about a commercial business in a residential neighborhood, but I think Mr. Nicanello summed it up pretty well. It's allowed. And I absolutely agree that I could not support a variance from 6 to 10 because I think it would be a derogation of the bylaws and their intent. Town meeting set the number of 6, and they said you can have 6, but only by special permit. They didn't say you could have more by variance. And while that's what a variance is there for, none of the criteria of variance for a variance is here, as I can see it. I disagree with Mr. Igo on his reservations. I understand that we're all going to have differing minds, but I think 6 children, this is a site that could accommodate that. Regarding fast driving of people up and down the road, that is entirely something that should be dealt with police and not this board. But I am going to suggest if we get to a point of somebody making a motion in favor, that we do talk about a driveway solution there. I've never liked the idea of cars backing out of a driveway just after having dropped off children. I don't think it's right. I could see a potential disaster that another parent can't wait, so they start to walk their children out. The person's backing out and runs over them. I don't care about staggered times. That's for you to enforce if we grant you any relief, but it's going to be a requirement, I suspect. So I can't support an increase from 6 to 10. I can support 6. I think it is a matter that is well understood in this town that there have to be places for family daycare operations. And we heard 2 eloquent speakers, Ms. McNamara. We heard from many eloquent speakers tonight, just not me. However, Ms. McNamara and Ms. Rowell, rather, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. I think we're pretty articulate about the need for daycare here on Cape Cod. And we have a lot of working parents who, unfortunately, particularly with the school circumstances today, are very limited in their choices for where they can bring their children, because the historical idea of bringing them to a public school system isn't there right now. And we don't really know when it may come in. So I think it's an indispensable need in our town. I do not believe it should exceed 6. And I could certainly support a motion for 6, but not one for 10. With some conditions, though. So when we get to, if anybody would like to make a motion, I'd like to suggest some conditions, and you can either include them in your motion or not, as you will. Anybody prepared to consider a motion?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would consider, Tom Nicanello speaking, thank you.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, I would consider a motion with the condition of the turnaround or an area in the driveway so the vehicle can drive out of the property. As we heard from a resident that somebody was going to be hit. I think that would make perfect sense as you described. I would also support the variance not being met and keeping it with what the town of Yarmouth had selected at the town meeting of 6 children only. I would support that. And I think I need a little more convincing of why it should not be 7 a.m. I could put a condition on 8 o'clock, but then I guess that with the age of COVID, everyone has to social distance. They could extend it into the day, but I'm not too sure about that. So that's where I stand at the moment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so what I'm understanding is that's not necessarily a motion, but you're expressing some conditions you'd like to see.
Correct, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I would support the motion if we had some conditions. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to suggest some conditions for consideration. So as I've been making notes along the way, 7 a.m. does not seem like an early hour to me, but that's because I'm up at 5 every day. So I don't know. 7 a.m. is when children historically go to school and school buses come down the road and pick them up. I just don't see 7 a.m. as being too early, nor do I see 5 as too late, with the provisions that only one child, one family drop off is occurring at any time. And I assure that these neighbors will certainly let it be known, I think, that if that is being violated, that's our check and balance, and we appreciate that when we have checks and balances on conditions stated. So drop-offs between 7 and 9, I would suggest as a condition, be staggered by 15-minute intervals with no two family vehicle, no two children being dropped off at the same time, unless they're related and in the same car. That the pickup be the same at 3 to 5. That no occupancy of the basement occur without there being a proper completion certificate issued by the town. Because that appears to be the intent that the children are going down there, and I don't want any more, gee, I didn't know, I didn't understand. Specifically, a certificate of occupancy for the basement, followed by a Massachusetts state licensing authority's decision that the area for use as a daycare can be moved to the basement. Let me just make notes if I can. And again, anybody that wants to make a motion can take any one or none of these. It doesn't matter. I'm just suggesting.
Chairman, I have one more condition. I would like to see a business certificate filed with the town clerk.
Certainly. They shouldn't be doing any business without one, right? If you just give me a second, wait. That would be business certificate issuance and maintenance. I'm satisfied they answered the issues of yard enclosure. I just don't see the staggered drop off if properly enforced to be an issue, particularly when now we're talking potentially we're talking about, and I don't think we're going to get to the variance, so we're going to offer to allow them to withdraw that. We're certainly not going to agree to more. I don't think. I've heard 2 people so far, right? Mr. Igo, I think I heard from Mr. Nicanella, that we can't support 10 persons in this daycare. And so consequently, that motion will fail if made and brought to a vote. And we'll tell you the options of that when we get there. I can't think of any other.
Mr. Chairman, do we put in about a driveway, circular driveway?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was condition number 1's turnaround.
Okay.
A proper turnaround within the yard. I don't know how they do that. Maybe they make a circle that's on, it's up to them how they accomplish it. The other one suggested was the enforcement of the pickup and drop off schedule. The other being a permit for the basement construction with an occupancy permit issued by the town and with required state approval on their licensing. They maintain a business certificate at all times. I don't have any others that I could suggest. If someone else does, that's absolutely fine.
I don't have any, but the comment that we always hear when this type of business goes into a residential neighborhood, it's never the right fit. And I'm not sure what is the right fit, but it has to fit. And this is why it was brought to the town meeting. In the town meeting, made their conditions of this business in a residential neighborhood. It's something we have to deal with every time it comes before us. And every time it comes before us, no one ever wants it in the neighborhood. And I can agree with them. I mean, I feel the pain, but this is something that is mandated by the state. We have to comply. The town meeting put down its conditions, and this board follows them as much as possible. And I think each and every one of us understands the value of that life, of the future. So we have to come up with the best determination and move it along. I mean, that's unfortunately it's very difficult for us, and I don't really like coming to these meetings with this type of thing, because it's the same stuff all the time. And I just wish it would be a lot better, because it's not right.
So does anybody else on the board members now wish to make comment on the two relief issues being sought, that of a special permit and that of variance? And if not, is someone prepared to make a motion first on the special permit?
Yeah, I'll make a motion on the special permit with all the conditions stated.
Second.
Who seconded that?
Dick.
Does the board care to have any discussion on the motion made by Mr. Nicanello, seconded by Mr. Martin, to grant the special permit as prayed for in the petition on the conditions stated previously, which I'll state again, that there be a turnaround constructed within the property so that no cars are being required to back out onto the road, and that her customers, I guess I call them, parents, be told they must use that turnaround as they exit. That there be the pickup and drop off, and keep in mind that I had suggested a 7 a.m. and I heard somebody, by the name of Mr. Igo, not agreeing to a 7 a.m. So that's certainly something to think of. And the other conditions of the drop off, the 3 to 5, the 7 to 9, staggered, no two at the same time. A permit for the basement with occupancy permit, state approval, and a business certification to be in place at all times. A business certificate, excuse me.
So Mr. Chairman, if I may ask a question on that, those conditions. So this motion, Tom, I guess you made it. This motion is 7 a.m. to 5 a.m. with staggered times?
Yeah, that's as it currently stands, because that's the one I suggested and Mr. Nicolau endorsed it. Of course, we're going to have discussion on this motion before it proceeds to a vote.
No more than 6 children.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
That's actually a given, because that's why you need the special permit.
Right.
They're looking for an extension of that by adding 4 people under a variance, which I don't think it's going to fly, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Well, I think what one of the concerns was with the petitioner is she has a license for up to 10 people. That's why she believed that she could have 10 people. So
Sure.
I think there was a misunderstanding there, that there was a difference between the state allows and what the town allows.
Yeah, unfortunately, the state doesn't trump our bylaws. They've already approved them.
No. Actually, I think a good suggestion for the state would be, before they license someone, to have them come and get a special permit from us and then get their license from the state. But
would be smart.
how are we going to accomplish the turnaround on the property?
Well, I think we have a building commissioner that would, certainly he's going to be inspecting for the basement. I don't think it takes rocket science to understand what a turnaround is. It's pretty clear. And it needs to be built so that none of these cars that are entering the property as business clients can go out, are required to back out, but rather must be required to drive out. Not back out, drive out.
So would this be a condition prior to the issuance of the special permit?
What- You mean you want to see it on the ground before we?
Well, it's
Is
almost
this
like, yeah, how would we, how would we grant a special permit? How would the permit be granted if that wasn't accomplished first?
On the ground?
Yeah.
Well, I guess we could call for a review in 3 months. And if it's not constructed, then the permit, it's a good question, Mr. Igo. I'm not going to go down and enforce it, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, if you're building a house and you've got a special permit, you know, they won't give you a certificate of occupancy unless you comply with all the conditions. So this is a little different because I'm sure if they were to get a special permit, that they would want to start after the appeal period, which would be in about 20 days. So that was really my question. And this is the Monday through Friday would be the limits of the special permit, correct?
Yes, yeah, that was what it asked for.
Okay. That was the only questions that I had.
So with the addition of these next two conditions that I'm going to recite to that Mr. Igo is suggesting, no more than 6 children and Monday through Friday only. Mr. Nicanello, are you willing to accept those conditions as a part of your motion?
Yes, I am, Mr. Chairman. I do add one thing in regards what Mr. Igo was saying about enforcing the turnaround driveway. I believe right now there is a building permit for the house, and I'm not sure what it entails, but I think the condition could be wrapped to the building permit because they have to sign off on that building permit eventually, that the driveway would be completed as part of that process.
I don't know about that.
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, that the inspectors has to go back out there, right? And they have to inspect what they're doing. It was just a thought.
Yeah. No, I think they would be the ones that would enforce it because they're the zoning enforcement officers, but I don't know that they would tie that to the building permit because the structure did not require relief. So this requires relief. This is like a license versus the special permit that attaches to the structure.
I
don't have a problem with it. It's not a bad idea. I mean, I presume the petitioner will agree to it, but if it's a condition of the special permit, but I'm just saying, I mean, we can certainly have a review of this, which I would suggest like other daycares that we've granted special permits for, that we do have. I think we should have a 1-year review and a 2-year review of this special permit.
All right, now, so that we can keep some order as to how we're moving forward. That I just have to assure that the moving party and the seconding party are willing to accept these conditions to their motion. Review at 1 year and 2 year. And I'm sorry, the second part of that was review. What was the other thing?
I was just mentioning the turnaround, but if we just want to put the turnaround in there and they're required to do it, then they're just required to do it.
Okay, so now with respect to Mr. Martin, please, you haven't had the chance to weigh in, but first we'll give it to Mr. Nicanello since he was the moving party. Monday through Friday, that's the other thing. Monday through Friday, operation only, Mr. Nicanello, will you agree to that as being a condition?
I agree, Mr. Chairman, yeah.
And that there be a review at the 1 year and 2 year intervals?
I do agree.
Okay, and Mr. Martin, would you agree to those conditions being added that we've identified?
Yes, I would.
To your second, all right.
Possible to add too about the turnaround, because I think there was a definition needed for that it can be either like an apron where you can turn into so you can go out frontwards, or a circular drive. Either one of those would work.
I just think that the customers ought to be prohibited from backing out.
Yeah, it's the backing out that's the problem.
Small road there. All right, so we have the motion, we have the conditions. Does the board care to have any more discussions before proceeding to a vote on this motion? Hearing none. All those, can't do it, Steve. Gotta knock it off, Steve. All right, Mr. Darren. You vote
Negative.
nay. Mr. Igo, you vote?
Aye.
Mr. Nicanello, you vote?
Aye.
And Mr. Martin?
Aye.
Lastly, I vote aye on the motion with the stated conditions. That passes. A decision will be drafted. It will be filed with the town clerk's office. That requires a 20-day wait period. It's a period in which people may appeal from this. If there be no appeal, the special permit will be needed to be brought to the Barnstable Registry of Deeds for recordation. And again, Ms. Clark will assist you with that part of it, okay? All right,
Yes, Angela had extra question. Is it allowed to be asked at this point?
We need to deal with the variance.
yeah, we need to
That was
move
what her
it.
question was about. So I just wanted to see if I could voice it.
Do it very, very briefly, please, okay?
So her main concern is having to fire her employee of 3 years. She will not require, she
No,
will
we're not
not
gonna get into that.
require an employee if she only has 6 kids.
Yeah, no, we're not gonna get into that. We
That
can't,
doesn't have
that's
any.
none of our deliberations.
Got it.
That
I will let her know.
we're not entitled to even go to places like that.
Okay.
So on there is a variance. The variance seeks a variance from the limitation of 6 people to occupy a family daycare and seeking to increase it to 10 people as prayed for in the petition. Is anybody prepared to make a motion concerning that variance?
I am. I'd like to make a motion that we deny the variance relief.
Second, Mr. Chairman, Tom Nicanello.
Thank you for chiming in, both of you. Does the board care to have any discussion on that motion before proceeding to a vote?
Yes. This is nothing personal to the petitioner. It's not allowed under our bylaw, having up to 10 people. We have a maximum of 6 under the special permit criteria. In order to meet a variance, you can look at the variance criteria. You clearly don't meet it. And therefore, your request for relief should be denied. And that's the reason why I am making my motion.
All right. Anybody else care to speak to the motion before proceeding? I just want to add that I think that if this motion were to be allowed, if this variance were to be allowed, it would in fact substantially derogate from the meaning and intention of the bylaw. And that's my concern. I think we all kind of have the same voiced concerns, but this may be reviewed, and I want to make sure we cover the bases in our deliberations and that they be thoughtful. So we have a motion made and seconded.
If we're going to do that, I just do want to add one thing, that the literal enforcement of this bylaw the petitioner has not presented it to be a hardship. The hardship is not owing to soil conditions, topography, or shape of the lot. And I do agree with you that if we were to grant it, it would degrade from the purpose and intent of the bylaw. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Any other comment before we move it to a vote? All those, I'm sorry, Mr. Martin, your thoughts? Aye, nay?
I had to remember we're a positive or negative here. We want to.
So we have, if
It was a
you
negative
grant
motion,
aye,
right? So.
the
so we
motion
want-
is to deny.
Right.
So if
So
you
then
grant,
I have aye. Yeah.
all right. I know that does get a little bit, are we doing the right thing? Mr. Nicanello? Mr. Barron,
Yay.
and Mr. Igo.
Aye.
And my vote to not, to deny the requested relief is as well an aye. So the denial of the variance has been passed unanimously by board vote. Again, a decision will be filed. It's up to you to determine whether or not you should be an appellant of this decision. That's entirely your decision. We're not going to weigh in on it. And with that, I think we're ready to close the meeting, Ally. Anybody want to move?
So move.
Who? Mr. Martin, second.
Second.
Mr. Barron, seconds. All those in favor of the motion to adjourn, please indicate by Mr. Barron. Are you in favor of the adjournment of this meeting? I have to hear you say aye.
Aye.
I hate these rules. Mr. Igo.
Aye to adjourn with just one question for the chair. That is, did you give the petitioner instructions onto what to do with the special permit, the 20-day elapsed period?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. All right.
Oh, no, it's fine. Fine. But I mean, I think the record will show that, but I'll certainly do it again out of a sense of caution. And that is that the decision in favor of the grant of special permit will be written, filed with the town clerk's office. 20 days must elapse before that grant is considered final. If there be no appeal, that grant of special permit would then be needed to be brought to the Barnstable Registry of Deeds to be recorded, and proof of its recording being brought back to Ms. Clark. Mr. Martin, please, on the motion to adjourn.
Aye.
Mr. Nicanello?
Aye.
And again, DeYoung is an aye. And so we are thus adjourned. And good night to everybody, and thank you for your patience.
Good night.
Thank
Aye.
you.
Good night. Good night.